Hey, welcome everybody to the March 22nd meeting of the 2021 Rochester City Council. Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Dixon,
Here.
Salvia,
Here.
Bavacqua,
Here.
Albrecht,
Here.
Harrison,
Here.
Peterson. Do we have Ann on here somewhere?
I just let her in.
Okay. Ann, are you here?
Is she coming?
I see you're connecting to audio.
Okay.
Hello.
Hey, welcome
Hi, you're
everybody
here?
to
All
the
right, you're
March
here.
22nd
Yeah.
meeting of the
And Sage.
2021.
Here.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay, now you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, which I will say tonight. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody. And thank you and welcome on this beautiful spring day. So I think spring has sprung, as they say. First, we have public comment scheduled. Non-scheduled is a presentation from the Michigan Redistricting Commission. Mr. Manager, do we have a representative?
I believe we do. And in our packets, there's also the PowerPoint. So
good evening. I'm Sue Ann Hammersmith. I'm the Executive Director of the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission.
Welcome.
I'm going to try to share my screen here. Can you see it?
Not yet. No.
Oh, shoot.
You're a co-host now, so you should be able to try again.
Try again.
Okay, let me. All right.
If not, it's just a nonpartisan election, something, right?
Yeah, it's pretty easy here.
Joanne, we do have your presentation. They have it in their packets.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, then in the interest of time, I'm just going to forge right ahead here.
Okay.
So, hello, I'll just take a couple of your minutes. I thank you so much for allowing me the time to be here tonight. The Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission is brand new, as was passed in the Prop 2 in 2018. The Michigan voters passed this proposal by about 61% for voters and not legislators to take responsibility for the nonpartisan redistricting. And that's what created the MICRC, as we're known for short. We are comprised of 13 randomly selected Michigan residents from over 9,000 applicants. There are 4 Democrats, 5 independents, and 4 Republicans. And the commission is responsible for redistricting the U.S. congressional seats for Michigan in the Michigan House and the Michigan Senate districts. Before commissioners draft any plan, before the first line is drawn, in fact, the commission is required by the Constitution to hold at least 10 public hearings throughout the state of Michigan. We've actually scheduled 16 meetings, and we're in the process of securing the locations and contracts for these public hearings to take place in May and June. There are 3 purposes for the public hearings. First, to inform the public about the redistricting process. Second, to share the purpose and the responsibilities of the commission. And third, and most importantly, is to solicit information from the public about potential redistricting plans, again, for U.S. congressional, Michigan Senate, and Michigan House districts. We do welcome participation from people and any ideas that you may have to increase awareness and engagement. You can send public comments to redistricting@michigan.gov. That's our email address, or you can mail to us at P.O. Box 30313 in Lansing, 48909. You can go on the website and see recordings of meetings, or you can go on YouTube or Facebook and watch the meetings live any Thursday. We've been meeting every Thursday, every week. So if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer those.
City Clerk O'Connor, I see your hand up.
Hi, Ms. Hammersmith. Have you and the commission been able to work out the scheduling because of the delay in the census information?
We will be asking the Michigan Supreme Court for more time to do our work. The Constitution has dates set. And at the time, it was a really good idea, and we had no idea that the census would be delayed by several months this year. So we are asking for date relief, and we'll see how that goes. But in the meantime, we have a lot of work to do. So we'll be organizing the public hearings and getting input from people and starting to be able to do the work with the information that we already have.
Do you have a proposed date that you're proposing to the Supreme Court, or are you going to look for them to set something?
The commission has not yet been informed of those dates, so I only share information that's publicly available at this time.
Okay.
So we should know after our meeting on Thursday this week.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Salvia.
Yeah, just probably a quick follow on with that. So what are the timeline dates that you do know currently when this project is going to be concluded?
We don't know because of the census data being slowed. So we're working with the Michigan Department of State because they have deadlines that they have to meet also. So with the elections. So we're working to try to find the best solution for both.
Councilmember Albrecht.
Thank you, Suann. How are they going to select the 13 randomly selected Michigan residents? And has that been done yet? Or how do people get put an interest in doing that?
The commissioners were already selected. The Michigan Department of State did the random initial selection process from over 9,000 applicants. So they have been selected. They are in place. They had their first meeting last September, and then they started hiring staff. So I came on board in December, and we also have legal counsel staff and communications and outreach person.
Thank you very much.
City
Thank
Clerk O'Connor.
So what might help Mayor Pro Tem Salvia's question? Typically, the census information is available in March, and they were proposing, as she said, to have the date in September. So they were looking at a 6-month window to work. So assuming that they can't start that work until September, and assume that would still take 6 months, because they're not going to, there's some things they can do, but obviously they can't do much without the numbers because they have restrictions on the number of people that can be in the district. So until they get that info, there's a lot of that work that won't be done. And then on our part, clerks statewide, then the reason I'm asking these questions is we will be required to mail out voter ID cards to all registered voters because the districts will be changing. So it'll be interesting to see what they can do.
Yes, we were required by law to have the lines drawn by November 1st with a 45-day public comment period in advance. So what that meant is we were required to have the lines really drawn by September 17th. And if we don't get census data till the 30th, that's an impossibility. We will greatly compress the time frame, I'm sure. And do a lot of work. I mean, we're going to do everything we can possibly do in advance.
Okay, anything further? Good luck with your project.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity, and keep in touch and keep alert. There will be news articles and things happening. So we hope that you would engage in some public comment with us. We would appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next, we have an update from our old friend, Representative Mark Tisdale. Mr. Tisdale, welcome to our council.
Mayor Bixson, thank you for having me. So want me to just jump right in?
Jump right into it. Yeah, congratulations on your election. And again, welcome back to our council. And yeah, what's going on in Lansing?
Well, thank you very much. Just less than 2 months ago, we got our committee assignments, and I really came out of it very well. For the community, I'm vice chair of tax policy. With my healthcare and insurance, experience, I've been named to the insurance policy committee, the health policy committee, and then families, children, and seniors committee. And so far, where we've really been busiest is in the health committee. We have a 15 bill bipartisan package. I think nine of the bills are from Republicans and 6 of them are from Democrats, and all 15 are being very well received in the House. It's a big reform package, really quite extraordinary. Everything from pricing transparency to capping the out-of-pocket costs for insulin, and licensing and regulating pharmacy benefits managers, 3 of which that have about 90% market share throughout the United States, and looking into their contracts. And so those are coming through, and we'll start voting for on those on the House floor this week. There was a 9-bill government transparency or government accountability package that passed the floor. All 9 bills passed the House last week unanimously, and this is the 3rd time that this is FOIA and and then what's called the Legislative Open Records Act. This is the 3rd time that it's passed the House. It has stalled out the other 2 times in the Senate. We believe there's that voting every single one of them out unanimously sent a message over, and hopefully those will get through the Senate. But it will impose FOIA and Open Records Act obligations onto the governor, lieutenant governor, and both houses, both chambers of the legislature. I had one of those 9 bills in the Legislative Open Records Act, and they tried to recruit legislators that had local government background and had been exposed to FOIA and Open Meetings Act obligations, those kinds of things. And so I jumped right in on that one. Tax policy, I have a bill pending there. In the 2017 Tax Cut and Jobs Act, there was a cap of $10,000 put on state and local tax deductibility, but large C corporations maintained that advantage. They got to deduct more than the $10,000 cap. IRS last fall and the Treasury, Federal Treasury, agreed upon language that would allow that deduction to be extended to smaller S Corp, LLCs, and partnerships, kind of pass through businesses where business income is actually reported on your individual tax return. So that's my bill. We're trying to get that enacted at the state level, and there's probably 200 to 250,000 smaller businesses that are pass-through businesses that could take advantage of that and make sure that all their state and local taxes, even above $10,000, are now deductible. And that will be a choice that businesses make. It's not something that they have to file, but if it works for them, great. I have another bill going through health on creating a COVID-19 hotline. I'd love to say it was my idea, but it was really kind of a copycat off the state of West Virginia that came out of the chute very fast and is among one of the best states in the distribution and getting vaccines and arms out there. Just a 24/7 hotline, a real person that can help you get pre-registered and or registered when vaccines are available. And for those that don't have technology access or just get befuddled by it or overly frustrated, that's the idea. Again, 24/7, real person answering the phone and helping you out. I'm trying to think of what else is going on. The Oakland County COVID-19 risk based on case rates was just increased today, I believe. Our case count is up and our transmission rate is up 1.33. So anything over 1, you get concerned about. But at the same time, we're reducing some restrictions. Outdoor stadium capacity has been increased to 20%. Residential care visitations, indoors and outdoors, are allowed, and they're allowing for communal dining and group activities again. In some of these senior residential centers. We're still waiting for the release of COVID relief dollars for businesses, public schools, private schools, support for summer schools. It passed the House and was sent back to the Senate. It passed the Senate, but they got into some kind of kerfuffle last week, and immediate effect was denied out of the Senate. And I'm not exactly sure why, but there's money there. There's about $405 million available for small businesses, helping them with the property taxes that they paid while their businesses were closed. It's kind of hard to pay taxes on the value of your business when you can't have your business open and running. 2 quarters worth of unemployment insurance premiums available for refund. These small businesses weren't looking to lay people off. So there's a lot of those kinds of things out there. $87 million available for public schools or private schools. And there's still going to be, even with the veto that the governor applied a couple of weeks ago, there's still going to be $1 billion worth of additional funding throughout the year distributed to public schools. So that's all I've been doing in the last 8 weeks.
Well, better get to work, huh? I mean,
I'm trying, but it's a great place to show up and work every day. The Capitol is a fantastic building. If you haven't been through there, and I welcome anyone that wants to come by. Just let me know. I was very fortunate that Mike Weber's staff, his legislative director and his constituent services manager, both agreed to stay on with me. So, experienced staff, just picking right up, where Mike left off, and it's made the transition much easier.
very good. Any comments, questions for the council? Councilmember Peterson?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Senator Tisdale. I'm
Well,
sorry.
you just gave me a
Tisdale.
raise.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, Representative Tisdale. Question, do you have those bill numbers that you were talking about? Or could you just get them to Blaine and at a later date?
Yes,
so he can distribute them?
I can give them to Blaine. I might be able to look them up real quickly here. 4288 is the state and local tax. 4384 was my part of the government transparency. 4430 is the vaccine hotline. Am I missing anything else here? I've got some in there that I've co-sponsored, but those are those are the ones that I'm actively working on right now.
Okay, which one was that one with the 15 bill?
That's in the House. I didn't have I don't have all those numbers.
Oh, okay.
But I can get that to Blaine. But that's a 15 bill package in health committee that's really coming to the floor. They'll start coming to the floor for a vote this week.
Awesome. Thank you so much for all the work you've been doing. Off the bill discussion, do you have any idea how we can get some of those new landlord tenant handbooks that I know House Rep the Weber had actually had? Okay.
Yeah, just call my office and ask for Kevin Rose. It's 517-373 1773.
Okay.
That was the hardest part, memorizing my new phone number. But yeah, we've got all those brochures or all those booklets, and it's now has a sticker with my handsome mug and name on it right over top of Mike's. So we didn't throw them out. We just put stickers on them.
No, that's great. And then the next one is, have you heard anything regarding the Secretary of State's office opening up a little bit more to help with the, renewing of driver's license and passports, et cetera?
The only thing I have heard is that we're about 50% of the way on the Real ID, which was supposed to be accomplished by October 1st. So that will probably be extended. What they'll be doing with greater availability and opportunity for expanded in-person visits, I don't know. And just recently the CDC changed its guidelines, at least for schools, from 6 feet to 3 feet on the social distancing. So maybe that will allow for more people to be in the buildings at once and open up more appointments. But beyond the Real IDs, that's the only specifics that I have.
Well, I thank you very much for all your hard work. And I know it's been difficult, but thank you so much for coming forward with all this great information.
Well, you know what? It has not been all that difficult. We are, it's very similar to the experience I had, dealing with the City Hall employees over at Rochester and certainly at Rochester Hills. We're blessed at the state level. The quality of the support staff and the people that are going there and working every day, on the behalf of the citizens of this state. It's been fantastic, from the House business director to Clerk Randall, that's been there 35 years, to the sergeants in arms, and they could not be more accommodating. And I'm just amazed at how deferential and the degree of respect we're given and consideration we're given when it's just some guy that got more votes and showed up at their doorstep. So they've been wonderful.
Well, and you do work in one of the most beautiful buildings in the state of Michigan, I will tell you that.
The doorknobs have the state seal. The door hinges are etched with the state seal. The lamps and the chandeliers with the elk, and it's every place you go. I feel like I'm there every day on a school tour, because you're walking in, looking up in the air, and it's a wonderful place to work every day.
Thank you again.
Thank you. Okay, thank you for coming tonight. I appreciate it.
Well, it's my pleasure to be here, and I hope to see you many more times. And Mayor Bixson, we've been in communication a number of times and been reaching out to Mr. Wing as well, and just hope to keep delivering some good news.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good evening.
All right, see you. Next is an update from the Rochester Area Youth Assistance, Raya. I see we have Paul there. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Mayor Bixson. Yes, my name is Paul Tiseo, and I'm the caseworker for Rochester Area Youth Assistance. And I'm coming to you partly on behalf of our chair, Ms. Debbie Jones, who is today. Let's see, she's on her way to someplace nice like Hilton Head, I think. And she
Very
said,
nice.
Paul, would you like to fill in for me? And I said, oh, yes.
Mhm.
I don't want to take too much of your time, but one of the things that our organization wanted to do during this time where we're all obviously having to stay connected in a virtual way is we want to maintain and reinforce our connection to our sponsors. So, they're critical to what we do, and we want to kind of get into the hopefully make it a tradition that at least once a year that we can connect with the sponsors and city councils and let them know what we've been doing, what we how we contribute to the community. So youth assistance has been around. In fact, I think the first office began in Hazel Park in 1953, but it quickly spread through ultimately to every school district in the county. And a little bit of history, I think it was Judge Eugene Arthur Moore Sr. who had a heart for wanting to know what can we do to help the youth who are at risk of being involved in the criminal justice system. And so there was an idea of what can we do to provide some prevention? What way can we involve the community and all the concerned citizens together to try to do work on that? So that was kind of the heart of the birth of the mission of youth assistance. But as I mentioned, the model of youth assistance, what part of the way we're designed to work is that we have what we call a tri-sponsorship. So the first one is we're sponsored by Oakland County Family Court, as I'm an employee of Oakland County. In addition to that, we're sponsored by the local school district, in our case here, Rochester Community Schools. And then finally, for Rochester area, the reason we're called Rochester area is because it's not just the city of Rochester, but also Rochester Hills and Oakland Township. But we all know Rochester is the best, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah. Don't tell the other cities and
won't.
townships.
I'll be happy to, actually, but no, go ahead.
Okay. Yes. What's really cool, I like, and one of the things I love about being part of youth assistance is seeing you in normal times. At Christmas time, we have a nice banquet where everyone's invited who's involved in youth assistance in some way. And it's really neat to see how many different people and different roles of people are involved in the community that have a connection to youth assistance. So we have police liaisons, we have mayors, we have school counselors, principals, law enforcement. I've met Mr. Wing there at the banquet before, and then of course on our board, our volunteers and itself, I had the pleasure of working with Ms. Salvia before, and then now we have Ms. Harrison. So pleasure to have her as the liaison to our board too. I have a brief PowerPoint, which if you give me the almighty Zoom powers, I think I can share my screen.
Paul, you're a co-host, so you should be able to see
Okay,
that.
I'm good to go. Okay, so let's try this.
A brief PowerPoint.
A brief PowerPoint.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. We're not gonna. Okay. Here we go. Okay, can you see this?
Yes.
Okay, very good. So just reiterating our mission, as I said, we're a prevention-based program, and it's a nonprofit program. And our goal is to strengthen youth and families in the community and to reduce the incidence of delinquency, abuse, and neglect through volunteer and community partnership. This is an overview of all the services that we offer. My role as a caseworker is providing short-term counseling and casework services to youth and families. We also provide financial assistance to families to help their young people if they want to be involved in some type of activity that in the community, keeping kids engaged in positive activities is one of the great ways to prevent delinquency. So we'll provide scholarships for different types of skill building activities. Family education, where our family education committee helps organize programs to offer to the community on a number of topics, some of which I'll mention on a later slide. Once a year, which is sort of our hallmark event, we have what's called the Youth Recognition Banquet. And we try to, we encourage invested adults in the community who recognize youth who've distinguished themselves either through volunteer work that they've done or also more about overcoming some obstacles or challenges that they've had. This is sort of a different, not exactly youth where we're saying you've been in every activity and you have all A's. We also want to reach youth that, have perhaps that don't have as many resources or opportunities, but have still been able to distinguish themselves. We're also connected with the Mentors Plus program that the county helps administrate, and we connect young people with adult mentors who are good role models and constant positive role models for them. And then finally, there's a summer camp that we help which is actually conducted with the partnership of Ra, where they have a day camp available for primarily for the communities in the mobile home parks in our area. So it's a great chance for the youth to be involved in a very inexpensive day program. I mentioned myself being the caseworker, so I'm the one directly working with usually the youth that are referred or families. And we get referrals primarily from like our police liaisons who are active in the schools, sometimes from the prosecutor's office itself, when they think, hey, this is a youth that maybe this is their first time that they encountered law enforcement, and they there's the chance where we could help them and avoid them having to be involved in the formal court system. So this is actually one of the highlights I would say is this is a money saving thing for all the citizens in the county, because once the youth gets involved with the formal court, and the dollar signs start to rack up. So that's one of the things I value, that we can have at inexpensively kind of help these youth avoid that more formal court involvement. So some of the work I do is not only for delinquent matters, say incorrigibility or retail fraud or truancy, but also in general things that are challenges for youth: anxiety, depression, difficulty in school. Often I'm sort of like the way station to help families connect with something that might be more, if they need a provider in the community who could help them more on a long-term basis to address some mental health issues or other behavioral problems. So that's another part I like about my job, to just kind of help people find the right path to what they need. I mentioned the financial assistance that we can help offer assistance monetarily, so that also tutoring is something that we've gotten more revamped up during this time of COVID, because of course, we're concerned about kids getting behind in the way that education has been up and down, while we're trying to manage the constant change. So that's another thing that's been great, to be able to help supplement some of the families to help them fund the cost of some extra tutoring. I mentioned the Youth Recognition Banquet, which we have every year. And we'll try to do some more advertising about that, but we're welcoming nominations now for young people. This is, in normal times also we'll have a banquet to recognize these youth, and it's always a moving occasion. I mentioned Camp Safari, family education. Here's just a quick overview of some of the things we offered in the past year that were helped spearheaded by the Family Education Committee. We had a ongoing series to help young women called Girls Stand Strong, and a trained therapist to help. This is geared more to middle-aged school, middle school age, I should say, young girls. But that's a popular program that helps them with self-esteem, confidence, communication. Our police liaison officer Dramer has done ongoing work about vaping because unfortunately that continues to be an issue among young people in the community. Programs on mindful parenting, about suicide, about screen time for youth, and then one we've had that was very popular on anxiety, presented in consort with the library. If anything, anxiety seems to be even more of a relevant issue right now. We're trying to cope with all the changes and things. So
I think we need to keep this moving along. All right.
okay, we're gonna wrap up now.
Thank you.
So thank you again for your time. This is just an outline of who's all involved in our board, and these are all really open-hearted, big-hearted volunteers who have stepped up to help us with our mission. And so we're really thankful to them as well, and to all of you for your continued support. I welcome, you can, I can answer any questions you have, or feel free to shoot me a message in the chat or by email. We thank you again for all your sponsorship and support.
Thank you. Any comments from council?
No, thank
Okay.
you, Paul.
Thank you.
Mayor, I have a comment.
Councilmember Harrison.
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you to Paul for being here tonight and for the presentation. Raya is just such an asset to this community, and I've continued to be impressed with how the organization has adapted to what feels like an ever-changing school environment this past year. And all I've learned from serving as the liaison on this board over the past year, I've just continued to be very impressed. It's been a pleasure getting to know the Chair Jones and Paul and the rest of the board. And I just want to say, please keep up the great work.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Paul, thank you for your presentation tonight.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we have the Rochester Hills Public Library 2020 report. Ms. Knox Potts, welcome.
Hello, how are you?
Good, welcome.
Hi, Mayor Bixson, council, and attendees. I would like to share my screen to go over the report.
Yep, you should be all set.
Okay. Okay. So for 2020, we had 61,531 cardholders, 4,569 youth program attendants, 167,188 annual visitors, 2,416 adult and teen program in attendance, 300,170 items in circulation, 223,595 e-material circulation, 13,610 computer reservations, 117,263 bookmobile outreach circulations, 3,839 volunteer hours, 1,247,502 total circulations, $170,000 Friends of Library contributions. We have a wonderful quote at the bottom. The next screen, and this report is also viewable on our website. If you go to Rochester Hills Public Library, rhpl.org, you will be able to go to Connect, go to Board of Trustees. It will be on the right-hand side of your screen. And the second page is the thank you for our 2020 donors, which is a very long list, and we're excited about. I also wanted to let you be aware that we also have our 3-year strategic plan that is also on the website in the same spot on the right-hand side of the screen. I do know that time is of the essence tonight, so I just wanted you to be aware that it's there and available. I was going to go over the goals and highlights, but it's a 3-year plan. That's 20, and it's available now. If given the opportunity, Julianne and I can come to another meeting to go into more detail, but I will also make sure that you get the link and the PowerPoint presentation, as I know it was not made available to you prior to tonight. But I do want you to know that it's available to the public now on the website.
Good. As
I
usual.
appreciate, and
Go
I
ahead.
also just want to say I appreciate you all and your time and your consideration with my tobaccos on emails. I definitely apologize. As it's been a really rough year, but I definitely have been involved and watching, and I thank all of you for everything that you do. And I appreciate your time tonight. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer anything.
And as usual, thank you for your wonderful reports. Any comments, questions tonight?
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a question.
Councilmember Harrison.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Anya, for your presentation. I appreciate it, you and your time. Can you has there been an increase in electronic offerings through the library? I know that there's been caps on how many items can be checked out electronically at a time. I mean, have you seen an increase in that this past year? And do you expect to offer or expand that digital offering moving forward?
Thank you, Amanda. It's good to see you. It's Ayana. I know it's hard, but yes, we definitely have seen an increase, especially as I reviewed the report from last year to this year. And I know the limitations. We are expressing the need to expand, and that's why it's important to go over the strategic plan with the council, because I believe that there are a lot of great opportunities based upon what has happened now with COVID and our need to change and expand, especially on the e-materials side, so to speak. So I completely agree with you and believe that if we get a chance to review, or even if you have the opportunity to review, you will see that it is part of our plans on making sure that we have things electronically available.
Thank you.
Very good. Anything further? All right, thank you. Thank you so much for your report.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too. See you. Okay. Next, we have the big event, Downtown Development Authority and the Principal Shopping District Budget Presentation. Former council person Giovanelli is here with us tonight. Thank you.
Yes, hail, hail. It's good to be back. Well, maybe. No, actually, it's great seeing everybody's smiling face. Everybody's looking good. I miss you guys. I know it may not seem like it, but I do. Yeah, well, we've been busy at the DDA, so I think Christy and I are going to do a little divide and conquer. I'll go ahead and take care of the DDA budget part, work through sort of the numbers, and then I'll flip it over to her. She'll deal with the nice part, and then also with PSD budget. So with that, if I can get control of this to fire up an Excel spreadsheet, which I know you guys are all dying to see.
Okay, then you should be all set.
Nancy feels my pain, so she knows. All right, so share screen. I want, where is Excel at?
I think Brian's here tonight, huh?
Yeah, why isn't it letting me do Excel? Weird. Huh. All right, well, let's see. Let's try this. Desktop one, share. Oh, it doesn't let you do the app, does it? Hopefully the budget's up.
Yep, got it.
Okay, great. Yeah, we have WebEx at work, and I use that more than anything else. So I'm not quite totally familiar with it. So this is from your packet. I just tried to grab it and make it a little bit more, kind of put stuff into smaller buckets for everybody. So this column C represents the budget from the 2019-2020 year. The 2021 amended budget is where we sit today with the current year budget that we're sitting in, and then the projected activities, the projected final from Anthony. And then column I here is the budget that we're here to talk about this evening. So my comparison as we get to what will be sort of looking at this year versus last year, kind of talking about the what went on and so on and so forth. So with that, I will kind of expand these a little bit. I'm going to move everybody out of the way here. You're blocking my view. There you go. All right, so what I tried to do is sort of grab and look at revenues, or at least point out to you revenues year over year. So last year, the current fiscal year that we are in, we're projected to receive just under $1.8 million of estimated revenues. 1.6 of that is coming from tax capture, and then the rest of it is coming from the various items that you see there. The budget for next year is a push. Year over year, Anthony has suggested that that's where we're headed. And then we pushed in what we had visibility in as to BizDev and some other funding. So year over year, we're looking for a reduction of revenue of just under $50,000 on the top line. And then going into the expense part, I tried to bucket things for everybody, kind of how we've always talked about it as operations and capital. But so the blue section here is referring to the operations part, right? So salaries and retirements and postage and office supplies and rent and so on and so forth. So we'll get to that summary in 1 second. But what I tried to do for you here is to kind of show you as a net change year over year. So the contractual services number in pink here, that is the typically where we have the big bright light show. So year over year, that's always 150 grand. But you'll see last year it was $446,000. That delta represents the PSD assessment that the Downtown Development Authority paid on behalf of the property owners in the district. So that's why that number was much larger last year. Obviously, we're not doing that this year. So we're back to our number 150 kicker for big bright light. Other than that, on the operations side, you can see that on balance, it's either a push or actually lower year over year. There was an adjustment on retirement contribution that was made citywide with respect to funding. So that's the main driver of the decrease year over year on that particular item. But other than that, it's basically a push year over year. I will say that as we get down to the contractual services part, this tan section, this represents fees that the DDA pays for services rendered. Last year, if you recall, early on in the COVID pandemic, we went ahead and put $100,000 into business development, and I'll get to how that money was spent in just a second. That was our initial foray when the world blew up in March, and we were trying to rearrange the deck chairs in the Titanic. We put that money aside and it went out, and I'll walk through how that went in a second. But aside from that, we're not looking at any major increases year over year. I've been assured that the dumpsters is not going to be an issue for me again, because I'm sick of talking about them. So we'll be lining up people in front of City Hall if that doesn't come to pass. But no, in all seriousness, I think we've beat that one to death. And I know that the team and Nick have been working super hard on the trash part. And then other overhead. There's the main increase year over year is $9 grand in professional development. We set aside, we had 0 in professional development last year because nobody was going anywhere. So this will be, if we're able to travel and send people to do things. And it's also important to note that a lot of that money ends up getting matched by county or refunded. So it would be appearing up in revenue. So it's not exactly a $9,000 spend. That would be generally offset by contributions from county. Let's see here, community fairs. We kicked a little bit of more money into community fairs just for coming out of COVID. But other than that, it's pretty much a push year over year. Our rent did go up $7 grand year over year because of the new space. Our lease is up in May of this fiscal year, so it will not appear in next fiscal year. So that $7,700 represents the increase in rent year over year for the space on Main Street versus where we were above the floor shop. So getting to sort of the capital part, the gray section. So this is the DDA where we make our investments in the district. The capital assets, maintenance, major and minor. This is a number that's built into the permanent capital plan from the city. So this is just our regular annual contribution. Sidewalks, we had a plan last year to really get after sidewalks, but in talking about them this year, we just decided to do the absolute minimum. So Nick has informed us that this 31,680 number is going to be pretty close to what the minimum will be to do for this year, as far as the sidewalks go. The streetlight replacement program, it's always been $250,000 a year. It was in the last several years. It was dropped a little bit last year to reshuffle some funding for COVID. So we're back to fully funding that. And as you can see, going on into 23, 24, and 25, it's just 250 continuing on there. Scrolling down here, we've got, I'll get to the COVID in 1 second. Transfers to the local street fund. So this is the 373 in the capital budget. This has already been spoken for. And this is our contribution for projects that the council has already approved as going on this coming fiscal year. So this is just our part. And then we transferred $162,000 to the parking fund, 50,000 of which is our recurring transfer, and then the extra money for the 5G smart meters that we are contributing for. So we're having a balanced budget. Year over year, we're spending about $358,000 less than we have had in prior year. That's largely attributable to a fund balance adjustment that happened last year. We took money out of fund balance to fund pretty much the PSD assessment, to be honest with you. That's kind of the way it worked out. But you could, call it whatever. We had, that was approved by council. I don't know, probably April or May or before we, did that. So I'd have to go back and look, but that's kind of where that laid. So in terms of sort of regrouping where we were at in total spend in 2021, so our current year, and then the year that we're looking at, what you would call operations, and these are all the things that I've highlighted here in blue. It's $351,000 last year and $363,000 this year. So an increase of $11,000, or 3% increase in operations. So that was, in terms of just sort of general inflationary stuff. And I mean, we walked through everything and you saw where that was at. Big Bright is the same year over year, so no change there. The PSD assessment, we are not paying this year, so that's less, of course. Contract services is down year over year. And the lion's share of that was this $100,000 that we kicked in for business development. Capital last year was 972. This would be the items in green or gray that you see there, and it's 968 this year. So it's a push year over year as far as capital goes. In terms of COVID in this year's budget, and I'm going to walk through the COVID spend in a second, but last year, in this particular bucket where we were calling it a sort of flat out capital for COVID was $73,000, and we've got $100,444 in this year's budget for COVID. We really don't have a ton of visibility like anybody else as to, what that looks like. My personal feeling is it's probably light, given how much we spent last year, but we've got $100,000 set aside for additional COVID response. And we're optimistic that with the funding that the county's getting and other governmental authorities will be able to do some matching. And I think, as Chrissy will allude to when she gets to her presentation, but the team was super successful in finding additional resources to help us magnify the dollars that we spent, and she'll walk you guys through that in a second. So bottom line, last year's budget or current year's budget, we were about 29% of the total spend was operations. And I'm going to call the operations the blue plus the contract services total ops. And this year's is 30%. So math just says the delta is capital. But I just wanted to point that out, that we're still tracking towards our goal of keeping operational costs down, being responsive to the needs of the community, and then committing as much of our resources towards capital as we can. This year, of course, a lot of our capital spend has been dictated to us by council. So there really wasn't a whole lot of wiggle room for us, so to speak. Last year's fund balance, we started off the year at 907. We did the $313,000 redirect, so that left us with fund balance of 593 at the end of the year. We've got 593 now. We're putting a sort of a mental placeholder in there for tax tribunal stuff, just in case. We don't know what's going to happen. But given all of the stuff that's going on and all the free money floating around, we have no idea where that's going to land. But that's just sort of a mental placeholder for at least me to kind of keep my head at. So I would expect the fund balance at the end of the year next year to be somewhere between 500 and 600 grand, depending on what happens at tribunal. So that's kind of where we were at on that. And then with respect to sort of future looking budgets, I mean, nobody's crystal ball is any brighter than anyone else's, but just from an operations standpoint, the 22-23 budget has actually a slight decrease in operations, 1.9% in 23-24 and 1.8. So we're really trying to hold the line on the operation stuff. And then contract services, once again, also, 2% or lower forecasted going out the next 3 years. So trying to stay, responsible and doing our level best to provide as much value as we can with the cost that we're spending. So I want to take a quick run at this. And I noticed that as I was looking at this, there was actually a cell formula error in the sheet that you guys got, but we can walk through this. So I asked Christy and Anthony to put together a recap of sort of the monies that the DDA has spent. So keep in mind that our COVID response, and yours as well, or the cities as well, it spans actually 3 fiscal years, right? So to date, so from March 18th, 2020 to March 18th, 2021, the 1 year period, 1 year and 1 day to be exact, we transferred $727,889 to the parking fund. Plus the parking meters, which is in this year's budget. So I'm counting that. Or we had a budget amendment in the current year's budget for that. PSD assessment and transfer. So that was the DDA paying the PSD assessment. We spent $122,000 in capital assets for the parklet program. We invested some money in extra rent on the collaboration studio. We asked council, and they were gracious enough to extend us the opportunity to take that. So we wanted to thank you guys for that support, because it's been a godsend. We spent $24,000 in outdoor seating grant program, and then the $90,613 in business development. And then Christy and the team have been able to generate $90,000 in fundraising revenue. So the net spend by the DDA in just pure COVID money has been $1.3 million net of cost recoveries through fundraising. So I tip my hat to the team. We are so blessed to have such a great group of people that flip over rocks and find stuff where you don't think it's at. And it's just the ability to. The problem is that they've set the bar so high that we can't let them. We got to keep pushing them more and more, right? But so anyway, long story long, parking, $840,000 over the course of the last calendar year has gone to the parking fund. $321,000 has gone to the principal shopping district assessment that the DDA paid on behalf of landowners in the district. $146,000 in grants and parklets, so fixed assets, hard fixed assets for COVID response. And then what I'll call is the COVID soft costs. And once you net that all out, we spent $1.3 million in spend, of which 63% went to the parking fund, 24% to the principal shopping district assessment. So those two really, almost 90% of the monies that the DDA kicked out towards support of the of COVID over the last 12 months went directly to parking and to the principal shopping district assessment. So everything else has just been, boots on the ground, hard work, masked up, and the team just kicking butt and taking names. And I couldn't be more proud of their efforts, in this regard. It's just been mind blowing, and it's been a pleasure to be the chair. They've made my job easy and the team's job easy. So with that, I am ready for questions if anybody has any. And I don't know, I moved everybody away. Now I can't find you. Let's see if, wait, here we go. Wait, here we go. Okay. I see some of you, not all of you, but I do see some of you.
So can you maybe,
I'm sharing.
there we go. Thank you.
Okay.
Questions for council member Albrecht?
I know we haven't gotten to the second part of it with Christie's presentation, but I will tell you your financial background and your knowledge of city council, Ben, really made this all doable. I was, going over the COVID response and all the things that you and Christie and the board did. So kudos to you for doing that. And I know, when I made this presentation, so many years in a row, it was always the capital versus operations. So thanks for addressing that. And I see we're still sticking in that, as much to capital as possible and managing operations, even with a higher rent on Main Street. So I just wanted to, I'm looking at this and you simplified it, you put it together in such a easy to read way, and usually finance people make it complicated. You simplified it. So thanks very much. And I like the next 3-year projection, just like we do with our budget, that you're going to continue that focus on capital and reinvest in the city. And I know we directed a lot of it with the roads and the road projects. And I guess, the point I wanted to make in this, besides complimenting you, and I'm sure I'll compliment Christie when she gets to her part, was that we had set aside this money for what was going to be, the city center or front porch or anything else like that. And we blew through that money, which we had saved for, 4 or 5 years to support the city in terms of COVID. And I think that needs to be, noticed by, everybody on this call, that, the DDA stepped up and supported our downtown. And while some may argue, hey, it's just supporting the businesses, we frequent those businesses. We are part of that downtown. All ships rise on a high tide, and you kept us in business, in downtown. So I applaud you, Christie, and her team, and the board you chair. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. You left the bar very, very high, so I didn't want to, we only have one way to go, and that's up, right? So yeah, no, in all seriousness, it was difficult, but and that's why we've always prided ourselves to be part of the team, right? So council, GDA, PSD, the old 3-legged stool, right? So we're all in this together, and I think everybody, to a person on this meeting, knows how hard our businesses were hit, how hard our restaurants are still being hit. So we're trying to do our level best to keep everybody happy, but I'm sure Christie will get to it. But I think right now we've got like a 96 or 97% occupancy rate in downtown. So that doesn't come because we didn't make investments in trying to keep everybody together, keep the family together, and let's, ride this out. And then after it's all done, then we can figure it all out. But I think to a person that's worked out well. So thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Okay, Christie, are you ready?
I am ready. So, Brian, can I share my screen?
Yes, you have permissions.
All right, hang on.
All set.
Here. Let me make sure I get the right screen up here. Hang on. There we go. Everybody's got my screen?
Yeah.
All right, let me go full screen here. If it'll go. Now it hates me. Okay, that wasn't what I wanted to do. Okay, hang on. Where I was. Here we are. Okay, so everyone has this in your packet. I don't expect you to be able to see a lot of this, but it's really more, I just want to kind of get into some of the things. So as you know, last year with PSD, our biggest challenge, in addition to helping all of our businesses, was the fact that usually the one tool that we have in our tool belt that we use consistently to support the city through parking and to support our businesses are the events. Unfortunately, we really couldn't event last year. So we had to get a little bit more creative in the ways that we evented and drew people to town through the Love Local brand that we created through the DDA. Our farmers market was the big hero last year because that was one large scale event that we were able to operate safely. Working with the fire chief and the police chief, we were able to operate that for almost the entire season, which was great. We got a later start at the end of May. But in PSD, talking at their goals and objectives about what they wanted to do, their goal was to try to make it a normal year as best we could. And so they really wanted to put everything on the calendar that we could. And our favorite new friend is the asterisk, because everything will have an asterisk that says subject to change. So we're going to do our level best to do everything that we can to make sure that we continue to support the businesses and do something for our community to make sure that they still want to come downtown. Our community has showed up for our town so much this year. I can't express it enough, from everything that we did last year with all the smaller promotions, with the gift certificates promotions at the end of the year. It was just incredible to see people making the conscious choice to support downtown. I don't know if everyone's a member of our Love Local group page, but if you get a second, you should stop over there. It is such a positive community, almost 5,000 strong now. And we had launched that a year ago, actually today. And it's just great to see everybody working on downtown together and realizing the synergistic relationship. For the Bristol Shopping District budget that was included in your packet, you'll see that the majority of the numbers are staying the same. We don't know if we're going to be able to do everything, but we're trying to plan for it. Our sponsors have been really great. All of our sponsors that we had last year that had signed on for events that we were unable to execute, they have re-upped. Actually, last year, they had already re-upped their contracts and told us that they were in for this year, which has been very helpful in terms of our event planning. But in addition to that, at the bottom of the budget that I had put forward to you in the yellow are new events that we were looking to put together as well. All of the three of these are ones that we actually did through business development through DDA last year that were very popular. And then the last two are some new things. So I have pretty pictures to show you for a moment here. So the first one, let me pull this back down here. This is a Taste of Fall, which is one that we did last year. It was to support the restaurants, of course, because the restaurants are one of our business categories that have been hurt the hardest. So Taste of Fall was something that we did where people could dine in, carry out, and every restaurant that participated was doing some kind of flavors of fall. And we were able to get a lot of great media attention. We were able to put together a beautiful brochure, just did some photography, really dialed into our social connections. We've been doing so much more on our Facebook, our Instagram, and now, of course, I have millennials working for me, so we're on TikTok now. So we're really trying our best to keep everybody together that way. So Taste of Fall was very popular for us, and we want to continue that. This is also a great example, along with Foodie February, that we'll get to in a minute, that we're looking at our event calendar as two tracks. So we have a passive and an active. What that means is that, like Taste of Fall, in the past, we may have done like a big, 3-day weekend and it's all foodies and all kinds of fun events, entertainment, all that kind of stuff. Cool. But this was something a little bit different. We decided to spread it out over 6 weeks so that people could take their time. We're trying, at least in the short term, to not try and stuff everybody together, because quite honestly, some people are not going to be comfortable with that quite yet. So we have things like Taste of Fall and Foodie February where people can take their time. It's something that they can also participate in a carry-out way, so they don't have to come in person if they're not comfortable. And we're going to be continuing that track through 2021 so that we do have ways that people can enjoy downtown at their comfort level. Foodie February, which we just concluded, this was very similar, where it was less about the special meals and more about supporting our downtown restaurants. For every receipt that you had, we asked people to bring it to the collaboration studio or email it to us for dine-in or carry out, and we would enter it to win weekly drawings for these really fun curated boxes that we are working on, as well as grand prize drawings that were actually downtown Rochester restaurant gift certificates. Through that, we had almost 700 receipts turned into us by the community through the month of February, and the average ticket price, we were pretty surprised by the receipts, average was about $63. So we had over $42,000 infused in the community of people that actually turned in receipts. We had a lot of other people that told us they turned in receipts, or that they had receipts but just didn't bother to turn them in. But Foodie February is a nice reminder to support downtown. So we've included those in the budget. The Magical Murals Tour, if anyone remembers this, that we did last September, we had 15 murals around town. People really enjoyed it. They're actually on 4x8 sheets of plywood. We got great feedback on that, and being in the months of September because of Art and Apples, we thought it was a great compliment to draw people into downtown. So we'd like to bring back the Magical Mural Tour this year. And then 2 new ones that we're working on with Love Local. Of course, one of the first questions was, are you going to do a big Love Local event? And so we're looking at something for the month of June that we're calling Love Local Rochester. And we're kind of giving it a retro feel, as you can tell by the variation on the Love Local Rochester logo in the picture there. So it's going to be a celebration of everything about Rochester. It's going to be about our history. We're going to be producing more of the back in the day signs that you see right there in partnership with the museum. They're an amazing partner to us. They do so much with us, but this is going to be a great one for them to continue to celebrate our history downtown. There's going to be a shopping component, a dining component. There's going to be a text to vote for your favorite cocktail downtown, have a little mixology in there. Again, this is going to be a month-long type of event, so we'll have active and passive elements to it. We hope it's something that we can build on in the future and create a little bit more robust outdoor event type presence, but not quite this year. But one of the highlights of that is Rochester No Filter. Rochester No Filter is something that, an idea that we actually had last year, but we had so many other promotions rolling, we wanted to hold off on this one. I don't know if everyone realizes, but disposable cameras really had a resurgence during this, photography in general, film. So we thought it'd be kind of fun to do something different. And since we have the amazing space now on Main Street, we are actually going to be registering people that they will be able to come in and pick up a digital camera, and they can go take photos of their Rochester, how they see Rochester on film. What's great about digital versus disposable, the disposable, they can't put a filter on it. They can't modify, they can't add or anything like that. So it really levels the playing field in terms of the participants in this. It can be kids, it can be adults. You don't have to be a natural photographer. It's just something fun to do. The idea is that we're going to we're going to register up to 50 people. Then they will go ahead, take their pictures, turn them back to us. We will then give them a set of their pictures back. We will select one photo from each camera and put it up in the studio. And then we'll be selling those prints as a fundraiser. So it's a lot of different things, but the whole month of June is going to be about celebrating Rochester, which we're super excited for that. And then last, but certainly not least, one of the ideas that came up last year, a lot of people started asking us about the sheep. We're not doing sheep, just let me be clear. But a lot of people loved the art that we were able to infuse into a lot of our programs last year. And of course, we are Christmas City. So we thought maybe it was time to pull the trigger on another idea that we had, which is the Frosty Frolic. The idea is, instead of sheep, that we would have 5-foot fiberglass snowmen that would be designed by our community, sponsored by local businesses, and then displayed in 12 different windows downtown. We're going with 12 because 12 is a good Christmas number for 12 Days of Christmas, but also because for this event, because of the time of year, it was easier to find spots to put sheep because they were smaller and we could put them outdoors. With salt and rain and snow and all that stuff, we weren't comfortable putting these out there. So we're going to have them in downtown windows. So that's why we're going to have 12 of them. We already at PSD, Paul Haig has already offered to sponsor one, so we got 11 left. But we thought this was a new spin on Big Bright. Of course, Big Bright last year was our big hero for the merchants in terms of keeping our merchants going, as Chairman Giovanelli already alluded to. Nick had been running our numbers for us, and we're already back at about 97% occupancy, which is amazing. And as the few businesses that did leave, we are having great success in backfilling those. So we thought that this was a nice package, that we're not going too crazy with PSD this year. We're going to be bringing back the classics that people are hoping to see and are looking forward to, but putting a new spin on a few things and then bringing back some things from the COVID time that people really seem to enjoy. So that would be a summary of what PSD has put forth to you. And I'm happy to answer any questions about anything with PSD.
Councilmember Peterson.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Christy, I want to just say kudos to everything that you're planning for the future of the rest of this year. And I love the new ideas. I really, really love that Love Local month with going back in time with that. I think that's going to be great. And the other one is that no filter. That is something that is really unique and awesome that I can't wait to have have or see everybody take part in.
Mhm.
So, and thank you again for working so hard to keep the businesses booming with all these activities.
Thank you. I appreciate it. We have a pretty amazing team that we have the pleasure to work with.
Mayor Pro Tem Salvia.
Thank you. Thank you. Awesome job. Love the creativity as always. I have two general questions. One maybe is for Ben. And I haven't ever served on the DDA. Does the DDA have a fund balance policy?
Good question. I think that by default, we sort of adopted the city's way back. I have to go back in the way back machine. Now you've challenged me before. I know we talked about it, but I don't know for sure. So let me find out. Unless Christy, unless you know, I don't know off the top of my head. I think we adopted the same as the cities, but I can't remember.
We did. I was going to throw to Anthony for a minute, but I know that we have to have the money allocated. Anything that's in our fund balance right now is allocated to capital. Yep. But we do have to have it named to something. Otherwise, the county can come and reclaim those dollars. But I think that we've been following the city's policy on that. Mm-hmm. Okay. Just like when we did have front porch in there, it was slotted specifically to front porch. Oh, there's Anthony.
Hello, team. DDA is a little bit different because they have to follow different legislation requirements because it's a TIF plan and the monies are, it's actually spelled out what you can even hold in your fund balance retained earnings for. So there's not a formal separate policy like council's familiar with our discretionary funds and major streets and local streets. It's not part of that policy.
Okay, thank you. And then my second question is, I do agree, Main Street is looking great, specifically in terms of some new businesses coming in. That's wonderful, but I am concerned about the university section. You know, we've had the frame shop go out, we've got Refresh out, we got the bank out on the corner, we got Scarborough Square out. So I'm just looking to hear what sort of, maybe this is a Nick question, what economic development ideas we're doing to stimulate that section.
And this
Mr. Mayor. Yep.
Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, so the good news is Scarborough Square spoken for, the bank first floor looks like it's spoken for. The whole recipes, Dr. Tao thing spoken for. So sometimes there's a lag of a couple of months by the time these guys sign leases and get in. So again, we're now in modern jewelry, they're spoken for. So I think university is going to be occupied 100% here in a couple of months. So again, there's a lag sometimes between signing leases and getting in there. So
okay, thank you.
Councilmember Harrison.
Thank you, Christy. Great presentation. I'm excited for the events that the PSD has put together and how you're moving forward. I was also excited to see that the DDA is doing the front porch stories again this year. I saw it on the calendar. Have you selected the topics yet?
We actually, our community development committee did meet a couple weeks ago. We've confirmed 2 of the 3. So one is going to be the Rewald family. So we're going to have Bev, Frank, Jason, Sean, and Ashley. And that's one is going to be at the Royal Park. And then we're also wanted to loop in the city. So we're going to have one with the 2 chiefs. So Chief Schettenhelm and Chief Cieslik are going to be on Nick's front porch. And then you have to be in suspense for the 3rd one. We're waiting on a yes for that one, but it's going to be a duo that I think everyone will enjoy if I can get them to say yes.
Any further questions? Okay, so Blaine, do we need a motion or what do we need for the DDA budget?
They'll actually get put into the city's budget. So tonight, unless there's any questions, you don't need a motion. It was just unless there was any issues.
Very good. Okay. Ben and Christy, thank you very much for coming tonight.
Thank you, Council, for having us. Yeah, we really appreciate. We couldn't do it without you, and I want to thank you guys for allowing us to do what we do and believing in the efforts that we're putting forth for the city. I think to a person, people are sick of COVID and are looking forward to get back out and doing stuff outside. So we're going to do as much as we possibly can to make that happen in as safe and as a effective manner as possible. So thanks a ton for your support. We really appreciate it.
Very good.
Thanks,
thank you,
everybody.
Okay, next we have the approval of the minutes, the consideration of the minutes, of the regular meeting of March 8th, 2021.
Like a motion to approve with one clarification for Leanne, which I spoke with her earlier today about.
Okay, so there's a motion by Councilmember Peterson. Is there support?
Mayor, I'll
Support?
second
Oh,
that.
go ahead.
I
Go
had
ahead, ma'am.
I had one question too, and maybe it was the same thing that
Okay,
Council.
so support by Councilmember Harrison, then Councilmember Peterson, you had your comment first.
Oh, well, I just stated with the, yes, for Leanne is checking on 10B for the way the votes were. So she's going to clarify and get back with me tomorrow.
Okay, Councilmember Harrison, was that the same thing or
I
no?
think so, yeah. I'm sorry, I had it pulled up and it just disappeared on my screen.
Okay, so there was a vote. City Clerk, you're all set with that?
I am, Your Honor. I will look into it, and if I got it incorrect, I'll just correct it.
Okay, very good. All right, Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Vixen,
Yes.
Salvia,
Yes.
Bavacqua,
Yes.
Albrecht,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sage,
Yes.
Very good, thank you. Next, we have the approval of the consent agenda. First is a consideration of a special event application from the Brooksea Way to hold the Brooksea Way Spring 5K on Saturday, May 22nd. Next is consideration of a special event application from MAD, Michigan to hold the Walk Like Mad event in the municipal park on Saturday, August 21st. Next is consideration of a special event application from Rah to hold the Rah Easter egg hunt on Saturday, March 27th in the municipal park. Next is consideration of a special event application from the Rochester Lions Club to hold the Rock and Rods Car Show on Sunday, August 15th on Walnut Street. Next is consideration of a special event application from Rochester Hills Christian School to hold Run for Christian Education on Thursday, April 1st on the Clinton River Trail. And finally, last is a review of the current 2021 event calendar.
Like to make a motion to approve as presented.
Motion by Councilmember Peterson.
Support.
Support by Councilmember Sage. Is there discussion? Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Vixen,
Yes.
Salvia,
Yes.
Bavacqua,
Yes.
Albrecht,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sage,
Yes.
Thank you. There is no old business or table items to next. Next on to public hearings. The first one, we are scheduling to schedule a public hearing for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2022 budget for April 26th. So we're scheduling the public hearing for that day.
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember Peterson, support by the Mayor Pro Tem. Discussion? Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Vixen,
Yes.
Salvia,
Yes.
Bavacqua,
Yes.
Albrecht,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sage.
Yes.
Thank you. Next is a public hearing on the Memorial Grove All Abilities Park, formerly the Tot Lot Project Grant Project. So we will have a public hearing tonight. Is Blaine or Anthony or is it Linda? Who's leading this tonight?
Mayor, I will take that lead on this one.
All right, Anthony.
All right, great. Brian, can I have magical share powers, please?
Okay, you should be all set.
Thank you much. Let me hit share and make sure. Can you guys see the PDF packet here?
Yep.
Yes.
All right, fantastic. I am going to jump ahead to the picture portion here. So council's aware we've been working on this for the last few. Oh, getting some feedback. Sorry.
Nobody needs to mute.
We'll have to talk to the chief because I'm sorry. I can't believe.
Here, look at that magical mute button powers. Haha. Okay. Thank you, council. So I'm going to jump forward right to this. This project's been a 2-ish years, maybe 3 in the making. The one that was approved last year for submittal had the tot lot over here by Community House. If I'm hoping this is clear enough here, here's Community House down here, here's current tot lot, and this would be the area we were looking at redoing it. Grant was submitted, documentation was submitted. The feedback we received back was that they asked us to reapply again the following year, and they had kind of a list of here's the areas that points you could do more on, here's some suggestions, those types of things. One of the biggest ones was access to the ADA parking. We were going to revamp either the existing lots up here and make them ADA accessible or add on another portion. Because of the steepness of the grade here, there wasn't a really clean way to do it, save of putting a parking lot literally right next to it, which when we looked at it and we're like, that just no. So then the question came up of, well, where else could we put it? It doesn't have to be there, right? We know we can slowly phase out this equipment as parts for the smaller one is already, we're not able to get replacement parts, but we can slowly phase it out and piece some of that together. So we looked at some of the other areas. So here is the GBB building that the Parks Department operates out of. Here's where the bathrooms are. One of the other big complaints we had is being near the bathrooms, which are, oh yeah, right here. It's under the tree area here. So we looked at, well, could we put the tot lot over here, or perhaps in the Memorial Grove area over here, and put in some ADA parking here at the end of Griggs and the Albertson kind of cut through, which if you go over there now, there are 2 handicap signposts, though they're not striped. It's not an official striped area. There's just 2 signposts there. And then also the parking lot extension here. So where we kind of settled, and this is where we want council, this is the ask for tonight, is we settled on wanting it to be in this area here. So a seal laid out the drawings in the dimensions in the area, and that is in this area right here, which on the overhead is this looped kind of sidewalk middle area. And then what we would look at doing is extend only as much as necessary. This is more than what's required. We don't have to, this is the max. When we did the drawing, we wanted to see, okay, what's kind of the maximum you could make this parking lot to be? And this is where the drawings fell. It's basically equal to the back fence. For this ask tonight, we only want it to be as far as what's required, and that would be about a little less than half this, stopping just short of cutting down the very big tree that's there. I am not a fan of cutting down trees. And so it would be basically extended to the tree, and those would be the ADA parking spaces designated, and then the connector sidewalk would be right there to them. In the future, should we want to expand the parking lot, do something more with the parking, that can always be extended, but we wanted to leave as many trees unharmed as possible. For the end of Griggs, one of the comments you've seen in the letters that were submitted was this, the parking. There's both the business that's on the corner here and the neighborhood. You don't want more traffic coming through here than what's needed. So their request falls inside with ours too, is that we don't want to add any more parking down in this area here, even though there's already the spots listed there. So the ask tonight is basically the parking lot is going to match almost what this is showing here, which is just a few extra spaces. And then just trying to zoom in a little bit here. And then having this area here be designated for the actual tot lot area. So there's the brief description and overview. Happy to answer any questions on it. And then I can, if after questions, Mayor, I can let you know what our next steps we need are in the process.
Very good. Council, questions? Can you?
Councilmember Sage has a question.
Yeah, can you get rid of the screen?
Oh, yeah. Oh, shoot. I'm sorry. Yes.
Thank you.
Where is it?
Councilmember Sage, you had a question?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So Anthony, with the extension of the parking area, roughly 10 spaces, we would have to actually, with this project, include additional sidewalk access, correct?
It
Just
would
basically-
be connecting to the existing one that is there. Yes, there will be a little bit more new sidewalk added to get to that.
Perfect, thank you.
I'm sorry, oh, it's on the other screen. I'm sorry, I couldn't find
There you
the
go.
button. Yes, correct. Yeah, it'd be just a little bit added on to get that connector in. That would be it.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions from the council? The Mayor Pro Tem Salvia.
Yeah, quick question. What makes an all-ability park? Is there something special about the or just the access to the parking space?
It's a little bit of quite a few areas. So the first step in this is getting the equipment is compliant. There's enough space, there's access to it. We won't have any barriers. So there's no barriers around getting to the area, to the equipment from parking all the way through the playground areas as well.
Excuse me, can somebody mute, please? Thank
I'll
you.
see if I can see who that is.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Anthony, were you finished?
I'm good, yes. Unless Linda, there's any other technical definitions you would like to add to that?
Yes, I would. And the thing of an all abilities park is the universal design and accessibility, because that and also the accessibility to the trail. One of the things, the parking will be dedicated to that area for the all abilities park. The equipment that is being designed for that park gives children or adults the opportunity to have access, so they're not limited in the ability to recreate. So it's like a recreation equally for all. Also, the parking dedicated specifically for wheelchair access. One of the biggest concerns with the other site was the ability for people that had disabilities could not get down there. Even 60-year-old grandmother Yaya here had trouble going with her 2 3-year-olds to try to get grandchildren down there without, being able to traverse. This is a perfect solution. Sometimes things happen for a reason, and having this parking set up the way it is, also having it adjacent to the Paint Creek Trail, that is going to be a very big win for us. In fact, our grant coordinator really made some valid points when reviewing our application. So I think this is a perfect tsunami here with this potential option. And I will mute myself again.
Thank you. Councilmember Albrecht.
Unmute yourself, Linda. The question's for you. With this change in the park, with the additional parking, I know you've been working on this for quite some time. And according to the notes, the deadline for submittal of grant request is April 1st.
Yes, sir.
I know you can't predict it. Do you think the changes we are recommending will get us what we need to get for this to happen?
Yes. And this is why, Councilman. Number one, the ability for us to garner the points as far as the universal design, that is a top priority of the state through the trust fund for these types of parks or playgrounds within parks. And that we are making a dedicated parking, yes. And we are looking at 2 funding sources. And I wanted to clarify that, Anthony, if I may. We're going to go back to the Mdnr trust fund for the top, when we say the tot lot, the all abilities playground. I've got to get used to utilizing that title. And that'll be up to a $300,000 development grant, which would be $225,000 grant, $75,000 match, just like last year, for all the equipment and surfacing. The parking lot, or the accessible parking lot, is going through the Land and Water Trust Fund, or Conservation Fund, through the feds, which is managed by the Department of Natural Resources. We can apply up to $150,000, but it's a 50% match. We figured with this part of the parking, it will be potentially about $100,000 overall project to put that in, to correct me, Anthony, if I have my figures wrong. And it will be a 50%, so that'd be 50,000 to the city, a 50,000 grant from the Fed state. So I don't know if that answers your questions in dividing the project up. And I disclose that in each of the narratives that we're going to do absolutely dedicated parking because we've reached the max on the playground. So with all those things in mind, I know that we'll reach the top of the points that we weren't able to garner last time. So I feel good about it. I feel good about working with our grant coordinator and our team with the city. I really think that we have a good shot. It's like having a baby, Mark. Again, we won't know until just the first week in December. We will go through a supplemental time where they'll come out and do a site review and do all these things that last year they couldn't even do a site review because of COVID. So, but I feel confident. I really do.
Continue to do the things you do well. Appreciate it, Linda.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Just like having a baby, huh?
It is.
Okay.
Less painful though. No
Okay.
stretch, Mark. No stretch.
Cost about the same.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's probably too much information there. Councilmember
Okay.
Bavacqua.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question about the parking, to clarify it in my mind. There's obviously ADA requirements for a standard parking lot adjacent to a park or something along those lines, I would imagine. Would this require extra ADA parking striping? And do we have enough?
Yes, what universal design is, when you hear me use that terminology, and by their definition, is one over and above. So if your requirements are for ADA parking based on your local ordinances, say it's got to be 6, I'm just using a number, I don't know what it is. If we put 1 or 2 extra, we've met their threshold for universal design. It's going above and beyond that you're planning as far as that goes. Yes.
Okay, thanks.
I don't know if that answered the question, but yeah.
I just want to make sure that it wasn't because it was actually an ADA playground that it would require more than the standard ordinance. Perhaps.
No. It's just their terminology, universal design. When I utilize that, it's just a step above. We're doing above and beyond what your ordinance requires.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Further questions? Now, okay, so Anthony, now are we going to have a public hearing?
Yeah, I was gonna say, you need to open the public hearing at some
Yep,
point when
that
you're
would
done
be
with the council questions.
next step, exactly, yes. So
So
that's
then-
the summary and.
And then we usually ask, do we have some correspondence? I think, Anthony, we had some correspondence at the last minute.
Correct. There were everything that was submitted through the council packet deadline, which I think was about noon on Thursday, was put into the packet. All correspondence received since then, and I haven't received any more, but that was through 4 o'clock was the last one today. That was added in, and I gave it to the clerk. It'll be added into the record and then send out to council as well, so you could review. I think there was another 19 letters as well that went with that.
And Anthony emailed those all to council this afternoon.
Okay, so at 8:37, we are going to open the public hearing. So the public hearing is open. Are there any comments from the public?
I'm looking.
Does anybody like to comment?
I guess I'll go ahead. This is Sarah King.
Sarah, welcome.
Hi, Mayor Bixson. So I'm a resident. I live on Greg Street. I did send one of the letters in that you're probably referring to. I just want to clarify. I was glad to hear, I think I heard correctly from Anthony, that the parking is no longer going to be on Greg Street. It'll just be the extension of Hallback Field parking lot.
Right.
Okay. Because
Yes.
I'm fully supportive of the park. I think it's great. I think it's, nice to have more access for ADA parking. I have 2 young kids that go to school there at the end of the street. And then also there's a bus stop. And I was just very concerned, with adding more traffic on the street with, a lot of young kids down there at the bus stop and at the school. So I'm very pleased to see the change there.
Good, thank you.
And then I just had one, I guess, other concern, just the existing playground. We were down there this weekend, and I noticed, the one slide is blocked off. It's broken. It can't be used. I just want to ensure, or hear what thought has gone into maintaining or replacing some of that infrastructure.
Blaine?
As Anthony was alluding to or stated, some of the pieces actually no longer are replaceable, and they no longer have replacement parts. So our public works staff in the parks, a few of them actually have the licenses. They're going to be breaking down certain sections. The goal would be for this new park to be established so that we leave a few things that are still functionable and safe out there, why we, hopefully if this gets approved, would be getting built over in this other location. Then we'd be going through our parks master plan to see what the use of that particular area, and if some other equipment or maybe some more passive uses could be placed there, as it's in a flood area and it has had issues.
And Mayor, if I can add one thing, I know what slide you're talking about on that one. Some kids during the winter time, we're assuming kids, went tobogganing with their sleds down the plastic slide. So plastic plus cold weather, sled marks all over the place equals shattered slides. So Carl's our parks foreman. I've been talking with him. He's trying to find exactly what Blaine said, trying to find something that can, how does it needs to fit in that there's certain, the holes have to align for the mounting brackets and all that. So he's working on trying to get that.
I thought you were going to say Carl was looking for the guys who did it.
Oh, if there was a way to find them, he would.
He probably could do it. Yeah.
Yep.
Any further comments from the audience? Brian? Nothing?
I'm not seeing anything. Yeah, I'm not
Okay.
seeing-
So at 8:41, we will close the public hearing. Council. Madam Clerk.
There is a resolution for council to consider to support the DNR MNRTF projects.
And Mayor, if I can add, there's I asked Linda, there's very specific, the motion has to be specific in the approval. There's technically going to be two, one for each of the grants. And if you're okay, I can have Linda state how it has to be worded.
Absolutely, Linda.
Yes, for the Mdnr trust fund, the motion should be that council is approving us to do the submission of the application for the Memorial Grove All Abilities Park in the amount of $300,000. It will be a $225,000 grant if awarded, and council is committed for 25%, which is $75,000 match. That's for the one resolution. So you're giving permission for the submission of the application and committing to the match for that piece of it.
Okay, so should we, why don't we do that one first?
Okay, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Motion by Councilmember Peterson, support by Councilmember Albrecht.
Yeah, I wanted to make the motion. That's why I had my hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh.
I've been a
okay?
big supporter of this thing, put my letter in and everything else like that. So I just, but let's go ahead. I'll support Councilmember Peterson's.
Okay. Sorry about that, Councilmember Albrecht. I just saw Councilmember Peterson's hand. Motion by Councilmember Peterson, support by Councilmember Albrecht. Discussion. Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Dixon,
Yes.
Salvia,
Yes.
Bavacqua,
Yes.
Albrecht,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sage.
Yes.
But Mr. Albrecht, there is another one coming, I think.
Yes, there is. Yes, there is. Thank
Councilman-
you. Thank you. The second resolution or motion that we need supported is for submission of the application for the all accessible parking lot that's dedicated to the All Abilities park at Memorial Grove. And that would be for it's a $100,000 project, of which council is committing to a $50,000 match, and it would be a $50,000 grant. That is a federal grant that passes through the state. So that would be the motion, is to approve the project for the parking lot, $100,000 project, $50,000 match to the city, and committing to it for $50,000 to receive a grant.
Very good. Motion by Councilmember Albrecht.
Support.
Support by Councilmember Peterson. Discussion. Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Vixen,
Yes.
Salvia,
Yes.
Bavacqua,
Yes.
Albrecht,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sage.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you, everybody very
Thank
much for your
you.
help for
Thank you.
a project that is a tot lot that I think it really needs to be updated. So congratulations to everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Linda.
you, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Linda.
Yeah.
Pick up the money.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, next we have the legislative deliberation is the approval of the 2021 Arbor Day resolution.
I'll take that one, Mr. Mayor. It's Nick.
Mr. Banda.
If you look at I just was looking at the resolution and we went back and forth 3 or 4 times. So the wrong one's dates. It's got 2 different dates and days in there. It's Thursday, April 22nd, 2021. The same day as Earth Day will be our Arbor Day. The reason we put this together is in order for me to submit for Tree City USA, you have to have a resolution. Work with the tree committee. We added in a little more than just the actual standard information we need to have in there to make it a viable resolution. So we're looking for Thursday, April 22nd to be declared Arbor Day in the city of Rochester.
Right. I think that we should have the,
resolution.
I'm sorry.
What's that?
Are we going to read the resolution?
Go ahead if you, I haven't, but Mark, the
have it?
chairman of the tree committee would be good at that. He's got a booming voice.
Do you have that, Councilmember Albrecht?
I print out everything, Mayor, so
All right,
I knew he
go
did.
ahead. If you
I didn't want to
wouldn't
put him
mind.
on the spot. Sorry.
where resolution Arbor Day in Rochester, Michigan is April 23rd, 2021. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas the holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance economic vitality, of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees wherever planted are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Whereas Rochester has been a Tree City USA for 7 consecutive years.
Right.
And commits to continue the programs and outreach needed to remain in good standing with Arbor Day Foundation. Whereas Rochester is committed to working with both our youth within our school system and local residents to educate them as to the value of the urban canopy, both on a personal, health-wise, and economic property value basis. Whereas the Rochester City Council established in 2020 a tree committee made up of 3 council members and 2 residents, whose main focus is on communicating the city's desire to continue to not only protect the existing tree canopy, but to increase it with thoughtful tree planting, education, and preservation plan for all residents. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Rochester City Council declares Thursday, April 23rd, 2021, Arbor Day in the city of Rochester, and urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day to support further efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And further, they urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generation.
Is that a motion, Councilmember Albrecht?
After Mayor Pro Tem volunteering me to do this, yes, that'll be the motion.
And again, Mr. Mayor, it's just so we get it right, Thursday, April 22nd, not Friday, the 23rd.
A motion by Councilmember Albrecht,
Support by Mayor Pro Tem.
support by Mayor Pro Tem Salvia. Discussion? Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Dixon,
Yes.
Salvia,
Yes.
Bavacqua,
Yes.
Albrecht,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sage.
Yes.
Very good. Next is on the reports and regular business. A request to replace the 2011 Fire Department ambulance. Mr. City Manager, I also see we have the fire chief if we need him.
Yeah, I'm happy to go over it. And then Fire Chief, if you want to add anything, we have a ambulance that the chief has pushed back. It's the 2011 Bravo 2. And, you know, we've delayed this particular vehicle, I believe 2 years, Chief, if I'm remembering this correct one. Basically for ambulances, we build the chassis and then the whole vehicle from there. So there's about a 6 to 9 month delay in the whole process. So there's money in the city's revolving vehicle and equipment fund for this particular replacement. And this would replace a vehicle which is known as Bravo 2. You'll see the actual replacement scorecards in the packet. And is a picture of this vehicle as it's been aging, and the chief's available on the phone.
Mr. Mayor, if I can add a few other items in addition to the city manager.
Yes, welcome, Chief.
Welcome, Mr. Mayor and City Council. One of the things that we have tried to do over the last few years, as you see, we did based on recommendations and evaluations from our emergency licensed mechanic that works on emergency vehicles, we were able to push back what would have been the anticipated replacement of the vehicle for several years. In the last vehicle that we purchased, Alpha 2, we did quite a bit of research to go ahead and find the best possible investment. The current ambulances that we are now buying, the boxes, if you think about it, that's where the patient is in that big area behind the cab, is now all aluminum welded. Now, the important part about that is those boxes now become able to be remounted in the future. So in the next 8, 9, or 10 years, whenever the next ambulance of those have to be replaced, we will not have to pay for that back box. All we'll have to do is purchase a new vehicle to put the box onto, which should save us about 50 to 60% of the cost of the ambulance as we go forward. This type of ambulance was not available to us back in 2009 and 10 when we purchased these initial ambulances that were made basically out of fabricated panels and don't have the same life expectancy that these new ambulances have. So we are hoping that we are planning for the future to be able to save money and maintain the city budget as much as we can.
Very good. Councilmember Peterson.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve the replacement of Bravo 2.
Or
Motion by Councilmember Peterson. Who supported that? I'm sorry.
Bavacqua.
Councilmember Bavacqua for Bravo 2. Not Bravo 1, Bravo 2. A discussion? Madam Clerk, Councilmember Harrison.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chief Sislik, for that update. I remember this being discussed last year around this time. I remember there being some apprehension because we had lost doing runs for Ascension, if I'm remembering correctly. I'm wondering, have we seen any increase in demand from maybe other hospitals to do more ambulance transportation to justify? I think we have 3 ambulances in total, if that's correct. And then what is the standard number of ambulances for a community of, say, 14,000? Is it 3 or more or less? I'm just wondering what the standard across the board would be. Thank you.
Chief?
Okay, I will give you credit for being a bit of a mind reader. I'm hoping next council meeting, and maybe I can ask city attorney to kind of jump in here to a little bit, but we are seeing transports from Ascension to pick up, and we have been working for about 6 months with the Beaumont systems. They are in need of additional support for ambulance transportation, and I'm hoping that next next council meeting, we'll be able to bring forward a contract for consideration for council. Attorney Crowd, if I can maybe put you on the spot a little bit and make any comments about what we've been doing with the potential contract.
Mr. Mayor?
Attorney Crock?
Yes, thank you. So the fire chief has been on this mission to expand relationships with the various hospital systems, and to that I give him a lot of credit. He's developed a relationship with the Beaumont Hospital system, and over the last few months we've been working on various contracts with their legal counsel and their decision makers that will probably come before you at the next meeting for approval. Are 3 agreements. The primary one for this discussion is a transport agreement where the fire department would be able to take transports through the Beaumont system. Another one is a training agreement that where the fire department personnel can get training in the hospitals themselves. And also a third agreement that would allow the hospital employees to ride along with the fire department in the ambulances. So to kind of a mutual training system. So the network and the involvement between the two looks very promising. They're eager to get forward with get moving with the Rochester Fire Department, and I know that feeling's mutual from Fire Chief. So it's a great question, and I think that it looks like they're going to be used even more.
Excellent.
So to go ahead and continue with the rest of your question is before we would look to replace the 3rd ambulance, we would make sure that there was a business case in regards to continued increases from Ascension, and seeing that the application and working with Beaumont is filling into those ranks. If it goes the way I think it will, we will have a requirement to need that 3rd ambulance to be able to meet the demand. And if it doesn't, then certainly we would not request the replacement of the 3rd ambulance when it came time to be replaced. If looking at the total number of ambulances that we typically would need here for the city, with our average age of our population, it's not uncommon for us to be on 2 separate medical emergencies at the same time. Or if we have repair, we would need a backup. So I would look at being 2 as a minimum. And if we do not see the increase in the transports like I anticipate, then certainly we can get along with 2. But if we do the transports, like I think will happen with Beaumont, we'll need the 3rd. And sometime in the near future, in the next few years, we'll be looking to replace the 3rd ambulance, and we'll be able to make that report to you on our transports and where we stand with viability of that 3rd ambulance.
Thank you, Chief.
Councilmember Albrecht.
Question I ask all the time when we're selling or when we're buying new equipment, which I support, obviously, is how much of that 225 will be offset? Is there any residual value of the ambulance we'd be selling on the Mitten or wherever we sell that? I don't know if that's for you, Chief, or for Blaine.
No, if it's okay, I think we can, Blaine and Anthony and I can all kind of jump in on that one. Unfortunately, ambulances are like the plow horse that's been plowing for a long time. Ambulances typically don't have much residual value. We did put out the last ambulance, Alpha 2, for replacement. And Anthony or Blaine helped me out. I think we got $7,200 or $7,100 for it.
It was right around 7,000.
So we would anticipate getting something around the same amount of value on that. And the main reason is because if we were to turn the ambulances over sooner, we would see a higher resale price. But I don't think we get enough money in the resale to go ahead and offset getting the extra few years out of the ambulances of what we've been trying to do is, basically squeeze every emergency service out of each of the ambulances before we try to get a new one.
Councilmember Albrecht, you all set? Councilmember Bavacqua.
Yeah, just a comment here. When I went to Lambeau Field, I noticed that a lot of the tailgaters were retrofitting ambulances to be tailgating headquarters. So maybe if you market it to the right people, you might be able to get more than 7,000.
There you go.
Wisconsin.
I sense a new
Maybe if Ben is still on, maybe we could get him to pick it up for a DDA tailgate and for the U of M games.
There you
Yeah,
go.
that's the market right there.
There you go. All right. Further discussion. Do we have a motion?
We do, Your Honor. Peterson with support from Bavacqua.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Vixen,
Yes.
Salvia,
Yes.
Bavacqua,
Yes.
Albrecht,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Peterson, Ann,
We lose her?
Oh, she was on mute.
No, I thought I had it off.
Okay.
oh,
I'm all
your
set.
vote?
Yes.
There you go.
Okay, and Sage.
Yes.
Mr. City Manager?
Yeah, I just didn't hear if the motion also authorized the sale of the old one. If not, if we could do a separate motion for the sale so that we could do that.
That's fine. I can just amend the motion then to add for the sale because it was as presented.
Okay, so motion by Councilmember Peterson, support by Councilmember Bavacqua. Madam Clerk, the roll again.
Vixen,
Yes.
Salvia,
Yes.
Bavacqua. I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Yes.
Albrecht,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sage,
Yes.
Thank you. Next to a Public Works Campus update.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Chief Cieslak. Next is a Public Works Campus update and report. Mr. City Manager.
Yep, seeing how we've crossed the 9 o'clock hour, I'll make this fairly quick.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yep. Overall, this is an update and report, so there's no action for council to take, but I do want to highlight a few things. So overall, as council noted, this is actually on page 121 of council's packet. Back when we went out for this project back in late 2019, we received a little over $5.3 million. We've basically spent out on this overall project 4.5. And that's actually broken out in this memo, each of those categories from engineering costs, bond costs, legal costs, all those topics. I do want to note that our engineers from AEW will be giving us a full report as we've done with our Ludlow project. And I stated from that point on, we'd be giving a full report from the engineering firm that works on each of the projects with us. So I expect that report to be done before the end of this fiscal year. So probably sometime in May or June. I want to highlight a few things. Our Frank Riedwald and Sons, our main general contractor, is on budget, or it will be slightly under by the time the project is completed. We did have very poor soil conditions, which many people knew because or assumed because we were building on a former dump site. It did end up using more than 160,000 of our 200,000 of contingency funds. Upon closer review, a few items did need to be reassigned to more appropriate accounts, including our equipment fund, our sewer fund, and our general fund. And again, going forward, as I've talked with a few council members, but just so that everybody has it, going forward, projects that are $100,000 or more will have either the finance director or assistant finance director assigned to assist with monitoring and overseeing the invoices and payments. So if we have a project that's in Public Works, either the assistant finance director or finance director will be assisting that Public Works director or assistant director along with the engineer on that project, or if it was our let's say a police carport, and the chief was working on it, and the project was over 100,000. Finance, we would either have the director or assistant finance director. So it's not just one person working an Excel sheet. It would be worked within our BSNA software with our finance department, assisting what I feel, the department that's lead on that project. Again, no action is requested tonight. This was for an informational and an update. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Council. Councilmember Bavacqua.
And so just out of curiosity, that if the community house project were to move forward, would that be like a DPW primary and then some oversight by finance, or?
I think on that one, will probably actually be administration assisting, as I've been pretty involved with the RFP process all the way through. If it was with the community house, so then it would still be the finance, either the director or assistant.
Thanks.
Very good. I like Councilmember Peterson.
Oh, yes, thank you. Can we get a breakdown of what the numbers were that went to equipment, sewer in general as well?
Sure, be happy to do that. And do you want that before the engineering's final report, or do you want it in that report?
It can be part of that report, just so it's broken down and transparent. And then, so as back to the community house that you're speaking of, though, for clarity, you said that it would be you plus the finance being a part of that, correct?
Correct. So if I was the department director, in essence, working, it would be as the project would be over 100,000, it would be myself, along with either the finance director or the assistant finance director.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. And I also like the idea of the finance department being involved in some of these larger projects. Next, we have the community house agreement and project discussion. Mr. City Manager.
Yep. Brian can give me the grand superpowers here for our Zoom. And I'll pull up a few of the renderings. I do also want to note that we do have our architect and engineer from AEW on here.
Okay, you should be all set.
All right, great.
What if Brian said no? What would happen? We'd
Well,
have no
I would
meeting
have-
tonight, right?
Yeah, I would have to log in as the city manager accountant and actually take over to do it. So if he
There
did,
you go. Okay.
we got a backup.
All right.
All right. So let's see. So for the rendering, I think everybody should see. Maybe I'll have the architect, instead of me actually taking credit for this. Jason Arlo, if you want to introduce yourself and maybe just describe what we're seeing.
Yeah, good evening, Mayor, City Council, Blaine. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you.
Great.
Welcome.
So this is our conceptual rendering. This is looking back at the community house from the northeast, looking back, so the parking lot would be up on the right side. What we wanted to share here was our thoughts and visions working with both Blaine and the community house on how we could make this look. We've also been working with the contractor that is on our team to do these renovations and improvements. You can see here from this view, this would be coming sort of out of the page there by the stone fireplace would be the new portion of the building that is being constructed. We have a deck that you can see that would be coming to the north, and then just to the west of that deck, there's also a patio proposed. So we have some outdoor seating and gathering spaces along the north. Down that kind of opens up to the park. We would have I guess essentially I'll call it like a walkout basement that we also have some patio area and seating area outside there, along with the wing that kind of goes to the east. The building would be re-sided and also re-shingled. And again, we were kind of showing a color palette that we thought would work real nice and look nice, but we we're working through that portion also. This rendering here that Blaine just flipped to, this would be the front of the building. I guess would be the west elevation from the parking lot. You can see the entry and areas to the right are again with new siding and shingles to tie all the new and old portions of the building together with the new exterior materials. Where you see the dormers up on top of the roof there, that's essentially the new portion to the north that we are rebuilding. And in that space is one of the 2 new gathering spaces that is proposed. Near that stone chimney, to kind of orient yourself again, that was the chimney we saw in the last rendering. Behind those arborvitae are the seating areas that you could see with the deck and the patio on the other rendering.
Okay.
Right, so in the memo, Mayor, again, listing from page 123, this overall project, what we've received after going through an RFP process and then negotiating with the low bidder is $1,020,000. And as the architect just explained, it would basically be the left half, so the northern portion of the building would have a new roof, shingles, and along with a basement that would not be finished, however, with an elevator that would be in there. So the basement would be stubbed out. The cost from, or the proceeds remaining from the bond, as we just noted, is just a little over $700,000, so 711 and change. So that would leave for this project about 309 remaining. If council chose to move forward, we would pull the 309 from the general fund reserve, which currently has a little over $2 million that is available. And that would leave available still within our reserve amount, 1.7 and change. There is a scorecard that's behind my memo that lists out for this particular project. Again, I'll note that a few years ago, back in December of 2015, this project actually wasn't a renovation at that point. It was noting that we needed a new roof, some new windows, some siding. There were some HVAC issues. We've been able to reduce some of those down, so that overall cost right now is about $600,000. So when the committee started looking at this, instead of just doing a fix-up, it actually looked at a much better return on the investment, which would be the overall renovation, which would include the basement as well as replacement of, like I said, the northern portion of the building. So the scorecard is behind the memo. Behind that is the draft of the Rochester Community House lease and service agreement, which again, our subcommittee, which was the lease and agreement committee, has met and entrusted me to finalize that with the Rochester Community House organization. I know Nancy's on their board, and I know they went back and forth a couple times, but it's my understanding that I believe this latest draft is to both sides' likings. Tonight that would be included for council for discussion. So if council overall tonight is okay, I will note that in the requested action, it would be that after reviewing the scorecard, the 20-year agreement with the community house, seeing this brief presentation, I would need to move forward to the next step, which would be eventually going to the planning commission. I would need funds to be authorized so that the actual drawings could be created for review by the planning commission and for their review and approval. However, if council desires additional information, please let me know and I'll work with our staff and the engineer and architect to get that information for you.
Mayor Pro Tem Salvia.
Thank you. So I have a few comments on this. This partnership to me really demonstrates the key reasons why we all love Rochester. When I started to campaign, this was one of those things I heard pretty much knocking on every door. Loud and clear, we need to fix the community house. This city-owned building run by the 501c3 we know is the community house, it needed an upgrade. And frankly, I think the city was behind on doing the needed maintenance. So when I was appointed to the community house board, being part of council in 2017, soon after that, Mary Lee Kowalczyk, she retired. Great years of service to our community. And then the board assumed the task to hire a new director. So Alan Smith started in June of 2018. So, there is quite a history on this project. Alan right away began to communicate the need to polish the gem, as he said. And yes, the community house is a gem. It's where the Boy Scouts meet. It's where the Women's Assistance League meet. It's where we hold our class reunions, our baby showers, our funerals and memorials. It's where the chamber hosts coffee talks, Ratatouille teaches kids cooking classes, adults take yoga, businesses hold seminars and professional presentations, the nights have fish fries, and the list goes on, the experiences and memories that we all have at the community house. So as stated in city manager's update there, administration started a process to reach this point, has been very detailed and very thorough. It started with the formation of the facilities committee, and previous council authorized the bonds to improve our facilities. And that was done at a very low interest rate environment, which is profitable for the city. And then a facilities asset management study was completed by a third party, Amoresco, and of all city buildings. And the results of that, as we talked about last summer, were excellent. We're in excellent condition as a city, with one exception: the need for approximately $700,000 in maintenance on the community house. And that's not a new number. We've been hearing that number since at least 2015. Roof, sidings, windows. So then the facilities committee started working with the community house to take an innovative approach to not just doing the needed maintenance, but to upgrade the building as quoted. The low bidder was $1,020,000. And these enhancements are going to bring to our community are substantial. A usable daylight basement. The windows on the pictures we just saw looked fantastic. An elevator to the basement, increased square footage on the first floor with a squared off enlarged main room to hold larger gatherings. So most importantly, every aspect of this remodel focuses on the main feature, the location on our municipal park. So another key feature is we've modernized this agreement with the community house. In the past, it was done with a handshake, and we will now have a 20-year agreement to protect this gem from the changes of city council and administration. And included in the agreement are a percentage of revenue lease payments to the city, which fosters a win-win. It's a win-win for the city, the taxpayers, and the community house organization, so they can provide a mix of for-profit and nonprofit events and services. So as a part of this renovation and the upgrade to the community house, the organization, the 501c3, will also be kicking off a fundraising campaign for $500,000. And that $500,000, a large chunk of it will go to a $200,000 for a kitchen improvement, as well as a campaign to upgrade the interior. So look forward to information on that. And then lastly, I will say clearly, to me, this is an investment, not just a spend in our community. This is an investment. And while we've been waiting a long time, and it's been possibly a long road, not just to me, but to many others to get to this point, to me, now is the perfect time to do this. If council agrees for this spend or this investment, let me clarify that, and the work is completed, we will be coming out of this COVID pandemic. We'll be ready to return to our gatherings and our community. And to me, it will be a sign and a symbol of our reawakening out of this challenging time. So I would like to make a motion to authorize city administration to finalize and sign the 20-year agreement, have drawings created for the Planning Commission's review and approval and construction with the low-cost bidder Wing Construction not to exceed $1,020,000, and request the grant committee to continue to look for grant opportunities to offset this cost, and encourage the community house board and all neighbors to support the $500,000 fundraising interior campaign. And let's get ready to gather together and celebrate Rochester at our new community house. Thank you.
All right. Motion by the Mayor Pro Tem. Support by Councilmember Albrecht. Discussion. Councilmember Sage.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Couple questions regarding the write-up and a concern for future HVAC replacement needs. My question is, if we do approve this and we're reallocating some dollars out of the general fund, if we're going to spend $300,000, does $325,000 fix a problem that we're going to have 2 years from now? Or is there more behind the HVAC concerns?
They're actually, when we were looking at it through Amoresco, it's more like they probably have 5 to 6 years worth of useful life. It's just, so I would still actually at this point not include them in the project. But again, as our normal maintenance, we would include them. So I just didn't want people to say, hey, we just finished this building on the south side, we still have $25,000 worth of HVAC system replacements. So I wanted to note that just so that it wasn't a surprise a few years down the road.
And a follow-up, maybe this is to Jason. The dormer on the back side of the building looked like it was just decorative, or is that by design, or will that come up in the planning once the drawings are, or is it functional?
Our concept there is we want to try to hide the mechanical equipment the best we can. So we may put some of that up within the attic, but when I say attic, I mean inside the building envelope. So it's still an insulated space, but it was basically a functioning louver for one of our concepts to hide the HVAC equipment for the north side of the building.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Councilmember Bavacqua.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say that having served on the facilities committee pleasurably during this process, I want to thank Mayor Pro Tem Salvia for being the liaison and doing the hard work with the community house board in trying to come to an agreement that makes sense for us as we move forward. I also wanted to point out that just an observation in sitting on the subcommittee, appreciate the work that administration has done in trying to ensure that we're finding every bit of savings that we can on this. You know, we did go through the RFP process. The firm that we've chosen to work with was by far the lowest bidder. We did some due diligence to make sure that we were getting an apples to apples comparison, making sure that the elevator quality was going to be where it needed to be. You know, we're looking at things like not fully finishing the basement room so that we can save some money and perhaps do some things on our own, or have the community house organization work on some of the interior projects. So there's, you know, we've looked into the grant opportunities as Ms. Salvia has mentioned. We'll continue to do that. There's going to be major fundraising efforts. So I just want folks to know that this isn't something that we've done lightly in terms of our recommendation, and I'm in support of it, obviously. Thanks.
Very good. Further comments, Councilmember Peterson.
All right, thank you, Mayor. So yes, thank you to the facilities committee and all the discussions we've had regarding this. A few things though, because based on the scorecard, number of value outcome is only a 6. On most things that have come before us, that has been something that we would just overlook and not do anything with or move it along in the merry way. So not sure why it's being pushed through right now. Second, I would like the motion to be amended to remove that the grant committee be the one to work on securing more funding. you actually have the community house as a 501c3, and they should be the ones that could work with the grant committee, but should be the ones that actually work on that, as well as they're the ones who have more opportunities for getting that additional grant money for the future. So, and through this, I'm not sure, I'm still not happy with the way the agreement works with them, with only the 8% being given to the community. And now we've had a lot of unanswered questions. We just now received a scorecard after all these months of discussion, which is not how our policy for budgeting works at the city. So disappointed in that. And I guess I can see that everyone has their votes already made up for this here. So I made my comments to the public because right now we are still under a pandemic, whether this is a good use of time for that. It's definitely not a good use of our money when the DDA has been helping to fund our other debts. And I think that we are making a mistake moving forward with this project at this time, at this dollar amount, with we're giving an entity 20 years to do this and no accountability for if they don't follow through. And that's not been changed in the contract either. So we continually push things through without addressing issues. They're overlooked and ignored. And it's not the way, we are not being very transparent with that. So thank you, Mayor.
Did the maker of the motion want to amend that or not?
Regarding that request, I just want to clarify the motion. So in the motion, I stated clearly there are two responsibilities. The grant committee to look for opportunities to offset the city's cost. This is a city-owned building. So the $1,020,000. The community house, of which the community house Alan Smith is on the grant committee. He is already working with the grant committee to secure additional grant opportunities that will help the city. But the community house has their own fundraising target of $500,000 for the interior, including $200,000 for the kitchen. So I think the roles are clearly laid out in the motion that I made.
Good. Further discussion? Councilmember Councilmember Harrison first.
Yep.
Thank you, Mayor. I think that the community house is, as Councilmember Salvia put it, a gem in our community. I think that if we're going to have buildings and offer these types of services, then we need to take care of what we have. I will say that I've had apprehension about the timing of this. $1 million investment in the middle of a pandemic is tough to swallow, but I understand that this has been in the works for years. And if we don't make this larger investment, it's kind of just putting a Band-Aid over a much larger problem. And as Councilmember Salvia stated, this is really an investment in our community looking at the long term. So although I know our community is facing budget deficits, I think that there is ways to offset the cost to move forward with this project. So I am in support of it.
Councilmember Peterson, you had another comment?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Okay, so the grant committee to look for grants to offset on the city portion, that's fine. However, with this being a 501c3, they're the ones who need to really find the funding for that because their purpose is different than the city's. Also, as far as an investment, we've always been responsible or had the responsibility of taking care of this investment. And I would like to know, I mean, obviously the city didn't care for all these years to take care of it appropriately. And now all of a sudden it's a great investment. So thank you very much, Mayor.
Further discussion? Yeah, I'd just like to say that people have probably heard me say this. We either needed to tear the place down or fix it up nicely so it can be a functioning thing. I don't think anybody in this community wanted to tear that down. I think it's a great investment for our future. There's a lot of opportunity there. It's never a good time. And I think my fiscal responsibility record is unparalleled in this city. It's never a good time to spend $1 million to do anything. But it's really time to fix that up and make it nice, make it a destination. We have an opportunity to do that. We've been talking about this for years, and it's really time to move the community house into the 21st century in the upgrade of the building, the contracts, professional management of it. So I feel very confident with this, and so I will support this. Councilmember Sage, comment?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And also for clarification, I think Mayor Pro Tem Salvia mentioned it in her motion that of this $1 million project, 700,000 of the funding came from a previously issued bond. So those are funds that, based on how we can spend them, this is a very appropriate use of the 700,000. We are then making up the difference through the general fund to complete this project and make an investment in the infrastructure here in the city.
Very good. Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Dixon,
Yes.
Salvia,
Yes.
Bavacqua,
Yes.
Albrecht,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Peterson,
Nope.
Sage.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Arlo, good luck on that. Looks like a beautiful building. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Okay. Thank you. Next, we have a confirmation of the City Council appointment of the RARA Board Citizen Member. It's a City Council appointment, confirmation.
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember Sage, support by Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes.
Okay. Discussion, Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Dixon,
Yes.
Salvia,
Yes.
Bavacqua,
Yes.
Albrecht,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sage.
Yes.
Thank you. Next, to receive a report from the various boards and commission, receive a report from the Principal Shopping District. Councilmember Harrison, it sounds like we might have heard some of that tonight.
I think you did, Mayor, so I promise not to take too much time. The only thing that Christy didn't cover that I wanted to add was that we had a new DDA board liaison appointed, and he joined us for that first meeting, and that's Mr. Paul Haig. So we wanted to just welcome him. If I can just jump right in, if there's no questions on the PSD, I'd be happy to just jump right into the City Beautiful Commission.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, so the City Beautiful Commission talked a lot about the Rochester pollinators. We will be participating in the Farmers Market on June 5th and 12th. There's been butterfly garden signage installed at the municipal park, and a ribbon cutting is being scheduled. We've also expanded the pollinators to not just be flowers, but also include shrubs and trees. So if the tree committee wants to get any updates on native trees, we'd be happy to help you in that realm. We're looking to add some native plants in the cemetery. We've expanded our gardens at the Rochester Hills Public Library and the firehouse, and we're selling seeds at Busy Buzz. We have just a couple other updates. I think we went over Arbor Day, which has been set for April 22nd. A presentation on that is actually being provided to local schools in partnership with the tree committee. We are looking for second phase of the municipal butterfly garden this summer. We have a lilac tree that's being sponsored. The new swing in the municipal park that was very generously donated is in process of being installed. I believe the foundation has been laid for that. And we're fundraising for more butterfly gardens, is always in the works. We have a nomination for the next quarterly Good Neighbor Award, and I'd just like to thank Council for recognizing our last good neighbor at the last council meeting. I know she was thrilled to be recognized in that way. And that is all I have right now. Are there any questions for the City Beautiful Commission?
Well, thank you very much for that report. Next, receive a report from the Parking Advisory Committee. I think we had two major things came from that.
Hey, don't forget the tree committee. Come on.
Sorry. So busy focused on my
We may be new, but we're loud and we're loud.
Councilmember Albrecht, Tree Committee.
Sorry about that, Mayor. I should have done that a little more respectfully.
I've been ignoring you tonight, I noticed.
I know you're feeling good because U of M won, so, okay. We had our a meeting of the tree committee on March 12th. This was really a follow-up on a lot of agenda items. One you heard of earlier this evening, the Arbor Day proclamation, which we added some wording into that. But secondly, and more importantly, what are we going to do for Arbor Day? We looked at what we could do with our tree fund and how we can make the biggest impact. And we are partnering with the City Beautiful Committee, as Councilmember Harrison said. In fact, we've invited Rachel from the CBC to attend our next tree committee meeting. So we have that partnership. But we know we can't go out and plant, X number of trees on Arbor Day. We've got to buy them. We've got to plan them. So to that regard, Nick Band, our resident forester, and one of our tree committee members, who is architect William Thomas, really looked through the whole city, and we'll be coming to city council with some plans of where we're going to plant trees to increase our tree canopy. We looked at a lot of different tools and everything. We know Rochester Hills plans, gives out little saplings and things of that sort. We're going to make a bigger bang, and we are going to market it. We also have Melissa Weiss, who is a very passionate tree follower on our committee. She's working on some marketing around Arbor Day and how we can really promulgate the message of Rochester being a tree city and improving our canopy. So more to come, but we're really excited. This is a fun committee. I'm on it with Mayor Pro Tem Salvia and Councilmember Babakwa, and we do have a good time. And we'll get things done, Mayor.
As long as you're having a good time, right? No, that's a good thing. Thank you. Next is, again, as I said, a report from the Parking Committee. Got me confused. So there's two things that came out of that. First, there was the rate increases for the parking passes and the meters, and the committee decided that we should maybe wait a year on those. The amount of money, again, wasn't completely negligible, but it was smaller than we felt like during the COVID thing. And we also thought that maybe with the money coming from the federal government to maybe help out with the budget thing, that now wasn't a good time to do it. And then the thing that we had a bit of a, and Blaine, you can help me with this, with the park, with the restaurants, with the not the parking decks, but the outdoor restaurant. Yeah.
Platforms.
Platforms. Thank you,
Platforms.
Mr. Banda. Should there be a charge for that? And I think the DDA felt like maybe there shouldn't be a charge. I think some people on the PAC felt like with the system in deficit, there should be a charge. And then it was kind of like, well, is there a compromise in there? And I think the city manager I think the compromise maybe was, what were the cost of those lots kind of historically over the last few years? I think those were the numbers that we were looking at. And I think, Blaine, if you have those numbers, and then, because there was a number put out before that was a higher number. So there's the higher number, the potential compromise number, and the zero number. And I think it was kind of a split on the parking committee. So it needed to come before council. So Blaine, did you want to?
Yeah, actually, I put this so that we could get a full report for the April 12th meeting, so that the police chief is actually going to run down that historical component that you were talking about, Mayor. And Anthony will have an update on the option A, B, and C for the numbers.
Okay, so that will be coming in the next meeting. But that was the issue of the day, kind of at the parking committee. Councilmember Bavacqua.
Yeah, just to level set my expectations on that, do you think we have the capability to look at like a 3-year average of what an exact spot cost?
I think the police chief thought they could.
Is that plan?
It might be 2.5 years based on when we put the meters actually in, but Chief, I don't know.
Yes, we'll be able to, we'll go back, with that goal in mind. We're going to want to go back a little ways because we certainly don't want to use last year as an average.
Pre-COVID numbers.
Correct.
And I think in talking with Mayor Pro Tem Salvia.
I'm sorry, I just had a other question for parking. Just wondering the status on the RFP for the parking meters. I see that lot with the bags on it that we're using for parts, and I see it's full with cars, which means they're not parking in the deck. So.
Right, and Chief gave a pretty good update on that. Chief, why don't you give us a brief update?
Yes, we've looked at 4 different manufacturers. We're kind of settling in on one that we're working on to get more detailed information, both on the meter part and as well as enforcement. They're actually sending us out a sample that should arrive next week. So we'll be able to kind of kick the tires on that and see whether it's going to meet our needs. But so far the costs look to be less, not only in the meter itself, but in the operation. And there's certainly some advantages to the technology over the product that we're using now. So we're still working through that.
Very good. So that issue will come up. We're going to have a parking committee meeting when the chief is set. We're going to have another kind of an emergency meeting, but another meeting. And then the issue on the decks will come up at the next council meeting. Any further questions on that? Okay. Next is a report from the grant committee. Councilmember Peterson.
Thank you, Mayor. So grant committee met on the 17th and we had a good discussion. I was elected as the chairperson and Anthony as our secretary. We had Sue Neal and Linda Kirksey Davis there, Colin and Alan Smith from the community house. We handed out the master plan and a grant spreadsheet that Anthony put together so we can start incorporating all the grants that are being worked on by various parties. We had a great discussion with Sue Neal. She was very thankful for the Amoresco report and basically concurred that everything listed on there was what was needed for Dinosaur Hill. Her and Colin I told them they could get together and start working and meeting and discussing and brainstorming plans on prioritizing the items needed at Dinosaur Hill, Community Garden, etc. And also they would like to get on the agenda through the grant committee to talk about non-motorized transportation as well. Efforts in our community to add that into this year because of the grant funding that could be available for that. I also reached out to former Mayor Kathy Dalton to come in to our next meeting to discuss the skate park and their plans as well for the recreation. So she will be coming to that. Also reached out to Tammy Salisbury, who has had years of experience in the nonprofit world, to come in and hear what we have going on here and point us in some directions that may help us in achieving the goals of receiving more grants. Anthony's been working always behind the scenes, gathering more information regarding the grants and putting this together. So we will be working on that. And then of course, the community house was on there, talked about some pocket parks in some areas as well. And the community garden. So those items will be continuously discussed between now and then. And looking very promising right now to be able to capture some other dollars on maybe some other grants that are coming through the city that can be added to in the future. So we're scheduling the next meeting in mid-April to give people plenty of time in between the holiday and that to work on the brainstorming and things like that and come back so we can have more of a footprint to move forward. planning where to go to get the grants.
Thank you, Councilmember Bavacqua.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that I'm a lot more comfortable with where we're at in terms of trying to go after some grants and get some funding for the city in different areas other than just from our taxpayers. And I'm happy that Councilmember Peterson is leading that charge because yeah, it's an area that I think we've missed out on a lot of opportunity over the years, and I'm glad we're headed in the right direction. Thanks.
Mayor Pro Tem Salvia.
Yeah, thank you. Councilmember Peterson, I just wanted to thank you. I noticed that there were live links in the packet where we could click through and see the Excel spreadsheets and the Parks Master Plan document. It was great that that was all there. So I really appreciate all the work you and the committee's doing.
Well, thank you, and many thanks to Anthony for being that steadfast, great person to do these things for us and move us forward. But thank you all very much. This whole committee is very excited about the progress of moving forward and really the collaboration. So very happy about that. And then with the discussion that we had tonight regarding the Maple Grove lot and that, I think the expansion can actually, that expansion there is actually probably going to help us even maybe possibly fund more dollars for grant through the recreational side of everything with the skate park and that as well. So next meeting should be very good to really see where the skate park is at. Kathy was extremely excited that we have this going forward too, and everybody was. So it's been really good. So thank you all.
Councilmember Bavacqua.
Yeah, and I guess if there's ever an opportunity in the future to find out if there's grants available for a splash pad, I'd be interested in hearing.
And that's funny, Dean, because I heard that was on your list. So I'll put that down and see if it can be incorporated somewhere in the middle of the park.
All right, thank you for that report. Next is a report from the DDA.
Yes, sir.
Councilmember Peterson.
Yes, Mayor. So actually everything that you heard tonight is basically what they've been working on. So I did miss the first part of the meeting, but that was basically about the budget and everything that was actually discussed tonight.
Yes, the only thing I would add is that they're officially moving all their office stuff to the new facility. So they're going to be basically there full time now. Next is a report from the Facilities Committee. Any one of the three of you? Councilmember Bavacqua? No, nothing to add.
Not much more to add. That was our life recently.
Okay.
I have a question, Mayor, though.
Yes.
Because on the agenda it said community garden.
So
I wasn't sure. I don't recall us really discussing that, or is that just?
yeah, actually, I don't have that on my agenda.
Oh, you mean on the facilities meeting agenda?
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Yes.
Because we ran over.
Yeah, all I did is say that we've been talking with Sue and we'll have something on the next one. Due to time, we actually did not get into a discussion on that particular item.
But believe it or not, we pushed a few things off of this meeting.
No, that's okay. Thank you.
Okay, and next is a report from RARA, Councilmember Albrecht.
Thank you, Mayor. We finished our audit for fiscal year 2020. Quite frankly, we came in flat. The CARES Act dollars helped us offset some of the losses there during the year. Great news regarding the 480 building. That's the second building to the right of the main building. We have a tentative agreement for a tenant there that, again, the Rochester Hills attorney is working on the details and the contract has not been signed yet, but that will provide, we've had that extra space there that will now be used by this tenant. It's a tenant moving their facilities from Rochester Hills to Rochester. So looking forward to that. And I know, Nick, that we're working with you on some permanent signage for the 480 building, so we don't have that thing flapping in the wind that's out there right now. So I don't know if you can give a little update on that.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for the formal application, but it's going to basically mirror building next door. They're both the exact same size. So,
Yep.
Yeah, I've been working with Ron and his sign guys. So as soon as they submit, it's approval.
Okay, thank you, Nick. That's it, Mayor.
Very good, thank you. Next on to new business for referral and miscellaneous, new business. Is there public comment? Brian, I see a phone number out there. Anybody?
I'm checking. I don't see any hands raised.
Okay. Next is a receipt of the check register and reports for everybody's, and then the city manager update, Mr. City Manager.
Yep. Just for the record, those check register reports are the March 11th and the March 18th. As for the manager's update, just want to hit on a few things. City Council was given a link to the draft results from our community survey. So we've had those and a few still even trickle in. I think I received 5 in my mailbox today, so there'll be a few more as those come in. We'll still update that. But the goal is, and we're working with our management intern on compiling all that information and having a report out to City Council at the second City Council meeting at April 26th. So that will be shared with the public. And also what we've done in the past, I believe it was 4 years ago, afterwards, other than just publishing the report, we also included little excerpts in an upcoming newsletter. We've just about finalized the spring issue, so it most likely would be going into the summer issue. Next, I want to note, as of this Friday, City Hall will now be open on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Friday from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. Staff will continue to be working towards being open to our pre-COVID hours, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. However, as I've laid out, we've kind of taken our time reviewing each of those steps, making sure all of our procedures are in place. We started off with just 1 day in the week, and then we added 2. And now we're going to add our 3rd as we're getting closer and closer. And as the vaccine and the amount of people vaccinated increase, we'll feel more comfortable with the barriers and our procedures to get back to the full Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. But our next step is this Friday, adding a Monday, Wednesday, and the Friday from 10 to 2 p.m. And Mayor, I at least want to touch on one thing. I know you might want to get into it a little bit more, but the mayor and I met this past Friday to look at what a hybrid meeting, so an in-person meeting for City Council, along with some representatives or some public. We laid out the council chambers, and depending on if it's a planning commission meeting, because they have more members, or if it's a city council meeting, there's probably between 7 and 10 members of the public. So if it's council meeting, we'd be able to have the 7 council members along with the 3 staff. That would get us to 10. Based on the size of the room and having measured out and having the spacing, there potentially could be 7 to 10 individuals. Might need to use one of those for our TV individual from CMNtv to make sure that we have the microphones and the camera angles and everything all set up. However, I want to note that the city will also still have a Zoom meeting. So that's why I'm calling it a hybrid, so that the public and our staff could still participate in the meetings while there's limited in-person capability. Staff will be spelling out our in-person procedures on the city's website prior to those April meetings, and also place those procedures in the agenda packets for each one of those. Our first meeting would be the Planning Commission meeting. City Council meeting wouldn't be to April 12th. So there's a little bit more information. CMNtv will actually be out on site this week to make sure all of our speakers, the microphones, and all that stuff works. So we're actually trying out all that stuff several weeks in advance. Mayor, that's all I have. I know you and I worked on this for a little bit of time, and I again appreciate your help coming out to City Hall to make sure that we're setting the standards that you want us to. I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add on that.
Well, that pretty much covered a lot of it, but so unless there is talk about the legislature doing some last minute thing, but unless that happens, our next meeting, we will be back in the chambers. Blaine and I actually had a tape measure, and we were not able to fit all the council people up where we used to sit. So we will be out on the main floor and with proper social distancing, and we will have to wear a mask and all that, but we'll get all that out. But we looked long and hard at it. So I think we can do it as safely as we can but the legislature is demanding that we come back to council chambers, and that's what we will have to do. So, but I think Blaine and I talked about maybe even in the next packet, we might take a picture of it and send it to everybody so they kind of have an idea what it looks like before you get there and things. That's all. Councilmember Harrison, did you have a comment?
I have a question. Thank you. Do the new school distancing rules of 3 feet apply to council chambers as well, or do we still have to abide by the 6 foot?
I think right now it's 6 feet. The 3 feet is only for the schools now.
Okay, thank you.
Just to follow up on that, we're following the MIOSHA, which is still the 6 feet component. And I guess I will note a few other things. So we spray once a month with a oxidized water solution. So it takes out, this virus along with all other, kind of pollen and other issues as well. We'll have several of the 3 core air purifiers. So it sucks up and has those going. We'll continue to do as the mayor was saying, the masks, the temperature checks and all those procedures as we go forward. As council might recall, we've added the MERV 13 filters into our heating and cooling system so that the air, and again, if the temperature is warmer, we can also open up, and we do now with the council chambers having the back removed. There's 4 windows now. So in addition to what we had before, so we can add some additional ventilation into the council chambers as well.
Mayor Pro Tem Salvia.
Yeah, and I thought we had talked about having plexiglass between the council.
There's going to be plexiglass between council people just down on the tables where we are. So we'll have more than 6 feet and plexiglass and everything we possibly can.
Yep, we'll add hand sanitizer, sorry, plexiglass. I think as the mayor pointed out, we'll add some pictures so people can kind of see and feel comfortable with maybe a diagram and some photos.
Yeah, so we know what we're getting into. Thank you for that question, Councilmember Harrison. Don't get me started on the 3 feet at the schools either. Anything further, Mr. City Manager?
That's good enough for me. Thank you.
City Clerk?
Yes, Your Honor. Just a reminder to council members and the public that the petition deadline to run for city council is 4 weeks from tomorrow at 4 p.m. You will have one council meeting that's 3 weeks from tonight on the 12th. So if those of you that want to bring your petitions to me that night, that would be great. Otherwise, the deadline is that week from Tuesday, April 20th at 4 p.m. And things are really quiet, so that makes me a little nervous, but we'll see what happens.
Thank you. Mr. City Attorney?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Assistant City Manager, anything tonight?
All set, thank you, sir.
Mayor Pro Tem Salvia?
Thank you. I'm happy. I just also wanted to add that the mayor and I have been talking about having State of the City sometime this summer outside someplace. So just kind of wanted to get the word out that that is on the radar. And I think it's going to be a great communication event for the community.
Very good. Thank you. Councilmember Albrecht?
Nothing, Mayor.
Councilmember Sage?
Nothing this evening, sir.
Councilmember Peterson?
Just one thing. I wanted to thank the DDA for having the company come in and do their cleaning. I forgot their name though. I feel bad. The people that come in and clean the streets and that for us because
New Horizons.
I'm sorry.
New Horizons.
New Horizons, that was it. Sorry, thank you. Yeah, I want to thank New Horizons for coming in and helping take care of our city and make it more beautiful. Notice that with more people in town, And there's been more of a mess everywhere. So it's nice to see that they were here, and hopefully people will be mindful and pick up after themselves. Thank you.
Councilmember Bavacqua,
Nothing from me, thank you.
Councilmember Harrison.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to note that last Tuesday I attended CapCon, a conference from the Michigan Municipal League. And I just gained a lot of valuable insights on regional updates and legislation and issues that other communities are facing. I also heard from our new representative, Mark Tisdale, and Mayor Barnett presented as well. It was very valuable, and I just appreciated the opportunity to go. So I wanted to say thank you for that.
Very good, thank you. And I'd just like to add on St. Patty's Day, I thought the town was very well behaved, and I think it all went well. And you know, I think the O'Connor issue wasn't really an issue. So thank you to the citizens, and thank you to the police and fire and stuff for keeping us safe that day. And I think it's spring, and so I think things are looking up in our city. So I want to say thank you for everybody for a long meeting tonight. I appreciate everybody staying focused and involved, and we will see you, it looks like, in person at the council chambers next time. So we will see everybody there. All right.
Mr. Mayor, can I just say one thing? Carl, we wanted to let you know, before you even got to ask, the tennis nets are up and people were playing today. The first time ever since I've been here that we beat your request.
Nice.
It was a long wait, but thank you very much.
You're
for that. So thank you, everybody. Have a good evening.
All right, everybody.
All right.